Okay. I beg your pardon?
Hello, this is Ryan. Yes, you always do. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm Australia. Andrew, yeah.
So yeah, we're sharing the crew.
Switch off if that's okay.
Okay, sure. There are many challenges, and it was very specific. His aesthetic is very specific. His camera is very fluid. You never know where it is. He's like a partner in the scene. So many curiosities, many challenges, and often very gratifying.
Do you want to ask him a lot of questions because he's kind of secretive about his craft?
That's okay. That's okay. You know, if he gives you a really good setup and creates a very specific world, and the text is very strong and the narrative is very strong, there's really very little to ask. You just apply yourself to the logic of what's going on around you. No, it's very clear just by how he carries himself and how he expresses himself that that's not the way to go with Lars. And probably for me, it's not my personality as either. I'm not so very well by talking. I'm usually much better by doing. One of the reasons why I did this project was I was very drawn to Lars by not only his work, but also interviews I've seen. He seemed like an interesting character. I wanted to be around him. And so that was part of it. So when I read a script, I partially imagine what it is. I kind of save that for later. Sometimes I don't even want to get too far into imagining what it is. Just have to have a taste. Just make sure that it's something that I'm curious about.
Well, may I say you're fortunate enough to be one of those actors that are memorable, that the audience knows for a specific style. Was there ever a point of your career where you were insecure, and did it ever stop?
No, it's I think the nature of being an actor is invites insecurity all the time, and I also embrace that because that insecurity, I prefer, the thing that, if you've been performing for a while, the thing that you have to fight against is a certain kind of boredom or cynicism. So, although that insecurity isn't very comfortable sometimes, and can be hard on you, mentally, it serves you well because it pushes you to a point of keep on going. It forces you to keep on going back and saying, what is this? How do you do this? What am I doing here? What is this? Who is that? What is this? And I think that's a good state to start things out. Rather than, oh, I know how this goes. If I do this, this, and this, and this, we're gonna craft this beautiful thing, and it's gonna be great. And I get less excited by that than being in good company and having the world fall away and dealing with problems and imagining things and kind of trying to find new ways to see.
Over the floor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to, why me for Timothy? Among all the actors, I guess Lars have to see, and when I went through the script the first time, I really thought that between the lines there were a lot of things to fill up, and I really enjoyed the silence of it, even though the narrator has a lot of talks and some other scenes, but I feel grateful to be a part of this kind of experience because it's a kind of problems we continually facing, no matter how far we are in a technology development and so on. So yes, I feel somehow this is a story which will stay for a long time. This freedom is very scary for them to get outside the box, outside, let's say, the prison, outside Manderlay. Even the one of the great images, even when the gates are open, nobody there goes out finally because there's nothing to do really outside Manderlay. It's something which amazed me because Lars, even though he's He's a white guy. He has, I would say, not the opportunity, but the equity to see that among blacks, the different personalities, the different characters, the different shapes or reactionary, and which it was very, very helpful to see a movie, I mean, a script where you have a lot of black characters, but different. And I think Timothy is one of those who is can never be placed somewhere. Every time you think he's there, he's another place. So you think he thinks this, he's thinking the contrary, or using it against you as a weapon, you know. And yes, maybe I share some part of Timothy, I don't know. But to me it was especially among the slaves, let's say among the slaves in the house, he was the one who was never completely there with everybody, you know. Even if he was physically there, he was always apart. It's like a natural born rebel, kind of. When the character of William said, from 100 years from now, you know, even our freedom, you know, the Negro will never have freedom. That's deep, but that's almost true. I'm not going to live 100 years more to see it, but if I look at the past, the last 100 years, it's been the same. So looking at the last 100 years allows me to make an extrapolation and say the next 100 years nothing would change, because looking at what happened today. And I think that would have been difficult for an American director to say in America. But it doesn't mean that no one will attack Laos. And also it allows him to have a distance to talk about things without this pressure that some American film director would have living there. You know, you're under some pressure. You can talk about some issue, or you're not free enough to go wherever you want to go with the subject. And yes, I think he's in a good position to at least give us an independent, you know, painting of what is America.
For me, it's like walking out on a stage, a huge stage, and I have worked on big stages, like at the Royal National Theatre in London, the Royal Shakespeare Company. But I think what it does to the feel of the film as we were working on it, and I think the same thing applied to Dogville, which preceded this, is a sense of openness in which something may be happening in the in the close-up, and there's something else happening in the somewhere else on the set, and the camera's catching both things, even though one is closer than the other. And there's a sense of see-throughness in the whole story, so that everybody is affected by everything, or everyone is interconnected, and that is going to build up through in the film over a period of, you know, nearly 3 hours, a kind of, again, emotional tidal wave of these people being connected. You have to be what the French call disponible. You have to be available all the time. And that's not always required if you're in a film. For instance, we had to wear mics even when we didn't have lines, specific lines that day. But then, because you've got the mic on, and you are sitting and you're responding to someone who is talking, your breath, your movement, all of that is being registered on the monitor, the shift of a chair or whatever. So you are working all the time, and there were moments when we as a group affected a scene because we were all so very present, even though it was only two people speaking. But the way we were present helped create the tension in that scene. And it's wonderful. It is about human behavior, but the fact that it takes slavery as the context is very important, because it's about the kind of psychological and emotional legacy of slavery, rather than just the physical thing of there having been all these slaves who were brought over in ships and all the rest of it, and worked for 400 years, and then they were freed, and etc. And Emancipation Proclamation. All of that is kind of sort of prosaic. Whereas this film is about a kind of psychological and behavioral legacy that has been carried on right to the present. America doesn't make films about America. Just refuses. It makes sort of promotional 2.5 hours commercials about what they would like to think about themselves. And this film is about America and about race, which America doesn't like to talk about, because it likes to just take that point of view that we are all we have to do is just all act alike and eat alike and buy alike, and then everything will be all right. And if people don't, then they are not like us. And we're afraid of even looking at ourselves, and certainly our history.
I just have to do my exercises. It's important to keep up with. Yeah, we change radically from film to film. I mean, I think Lars has always changed in his films, always pushing new ground. It's harder for a photographer to do that officially, because cinematographers work in allegiance and alliance with directors, and if you don't have a group of people around you who want to do that, then as a cinematographer you have to conform or comply with your associates' desires. And if I'm working with a director who doesn't want to lift the stone up and change things and play around, then I won't be able to. Or if I do, I'd be going across his path and I'd probably be fired. The thing about Lars is he's not the only one, but he's a very good example of a director who is interested in demanding a great deal of his recruits, his troops, and pushing film language, always. You can't find a film he hasn't done that. And this is provocative in many ways, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be there, and it encourages me to be naughty or play around or do things differently. One of my theories is that he gets closer to his actors. That's one of the privileges we have as DOPs, and still have. I kind of still feel I'm close to the actors anyway, because I'm looking through the lens. So I don't really understand why he doesn't feel close to his actors looking through the lens while I'm operating, but that's his feeling, that he gets closer, and he can actually, as you see, if you see any of these incidents on film, he does actually direct while shooting and risks ruining the material, but he's directing and prompting and guiding early on in the takes, just to get the scene to settle in and get the actors to settle into the kind of choreography of the scene, dramatically speaking. And he could do that beside me, but in a way he's comfortable holding the camera and doing it at the same time, and we kind of support each other. And if I think it's appalling, or if I think it's a problem, or if he's tired, or if we just want to do things differently, I'll come in And I think on this film I actually think we're about 50-50 almost, if you take everything into account. I think whereas on Dogville he did quite a bit more. But anyway, that's the deal, and that's his kind of idea, amongst other things. Ask him if it's about anything else. I'm used to working, kind of giving areas of my official responsibility. I'm used to giving creative license out to people around me, and in that sense, as far as my own official division of labour is concerned, he's an operator. But operators normally do exactly and precisely what you tell them to do. And that's the interesting thing here, which I find quite provocative but quite interesting. We ultimately do I think generally what pleases each other, but I don't immediately assume that by asking him to do something he would do it. He'll follow his own route, and I'll watch him and I'll try and understand intuitively what he's trying to do, and then I'll try and inspire him, encourage him and help him. That's my kind of deal. The second time around, this time around on Manderlay, I think personally it's a lot better, not because it's prettier or anything like that. I just think it seems to work better on all levels. I didn't feel dissatisfied about what happened on Dogville, but I just think Dogville was the beginning of a learning curve, and it is an odd way to work. It's an interesting way to work, and you've got like an amazing amount of high standard professional people behind me and in front of me, kind of specialists working in their own areas, but across cut from what they normally do. It's just different. They have to think differently, and I think that's creative and provocative and inspiring. And that was more difficult first time around. Now we're more prepared for it, but it's still demanding and interesting and different. Everything's like a journey. It's a path, and it's your discipline increases maybe. Your awareness increases, your knowledge increases, your wisdom, cinematic wisdom, improves, and maybe, the more films I do, the more peace I kind of get within myself, despite the pressure and the noise, and the work going around you. You have to keep calm. You have to maintain some kind of mental intelligence surrounded by chaos. That's our job, and that gets easier and easier the more films you do. But as I say, for him, working with him is a gateway into a new domain every time. And even though this is part 2 of a trilogy, things are developing.
Nogle gange er der problemer, og så er der ligesom kun én ting, og det er at tage fat i de problemer og få dem løst, ikke? Og nogle problemer bliver meget tydelige, man er i gang med at løse, og nogle andre kan man ligesom gå og gøre i det stille. Og det er selvfølgelig klart, at det vigtigste for mig er, at hvis der opstår problemer, at så er jeg der og er klar til at handle på dem, og det er i hvert fald nogle gange kun mig, der kan gøre det. Jeg føler, at langt de fleste af de problemer, der har været, på et eller andet tidspunkt faktisk kommer hen forbi mig. Således at folk er ikke bange for en eller anden reaktion. Og jeg husker, en af de første dage var der en af pigerne, der var gravid og var enormt bange for, og mente, at det var virkelig noget, en producent kunne blive rasende over, og hun ville blive tykkere og tykkere, og vi har måttet sy hendes kjole om, jeg ved ikke mange gange. Og det var, altså, hun var virkelig bekymret. Og der må jeg også sige, jeg synes jo, det var fuldstændig fantastisk, at hun var gravid. Og at vi ligesom fik lov til at opleve den tid med hende. Men udover det, så handler det jo om at skabe et klima, mener jeg. Og der er det lykkedes mig efterhånden at få en stab af produktionsfolk omkring mig, som står for det samme, føler jeg som mig. Hvor jeg ikke behøver at gå ind og fortælle dem, hvad de skal gøre. Men hvor de faktisk altid handler i. Vi er fuldstændig enige om, hvilken ånd man skal handle i, og det vil sige, at vi skal tage os af de folk, der er her, få dem til at føle, at det kan godt være, at vi betaler dem dårligt, og det kan godt være, at der er visse ting, vi ikke kan give dem af alt muligt glamourøst og fine trailer og alt muligt, men vi kan gøre vores yderste for, at de har det så godt, som det overhovedet er muligt. Og så vil jeg så sige, at det stab, vi har haft af filmhold, har aldrig været bedre. Det er jo sket, fordi at vi efterhånden har i den grad indordnet os under at lave koproduktionen. Og at nu har vi altså en lydafdeling, der er ren hollandsk, og en fotoafdeling, der er en blanding af svensk, dansk, britisk og hollandsk. Og sådan er det, og make-up-afdelingen, der er 5 andre nationer, ikke? Og det er skægt, fordi jeg tror faktisk, at vi får bedre film ud af det, vi får et bedre klima ud af det. Fordi det giver simpelthen meget, at så mange forskellige slags mennesker, og også mennesker, der ikke kender hinanden, kommer til at samarbejde. Og beslutningen om at lave det her er bestemt af 2 ting. Den ene, det er pengene, vi får herfra. Men man kan sige, at i den her sammenhæng, så havde vi faktisk fået tilbudt flere penge fra Tyskland. Og vi ville egentlig gerne have lavet det i Tyskland. Og grunden til, at vi ender med at lave det her, er fordi det setup, vi kan få her, er så godt. Altså i Tyskland var vi nede og se på det. Der kunne vi ikke finde et hotel, hvor vi alle sammen kunne bo. Og jeg tror, at en af de ting, der er vigtigt i forhold til det her setup, det er, at vi har, at alle bor det samme sted. At du har den der fornemmelse af, at vi er lige. Og det gælder holdet, og det gælder spillerne. Så kan der være forskel på, hvor store værelserne er. Men fornemmelsen af, at vi er alle sammen det samme sted. Hvorimod at de steder i Køln, vi kunne være, der ville der være nogle stjerner, der boede på store hoteller, og andre spillere, der ikke havde helt så fine hoteller. Og det ville økonomisk ville det garanteret blive dyrere også af mange grunde, men det ville først og fremmest psykologisk være meget, meget anderledes. Jeg vil sige, at jeg synes, det er meget modigt, at de spillere, der er med i den her film. Fordi det er jo ikke en film, det er jo en film, der roder op i en masse ting, og som ikke gør det på sådan en finfølende måde, kan man sige. Den er jo provokerende i sit udgangspunkt, i den måde, den tager fat i problemerne. Og derfor vil jeg sige, at der skal jo ikke meget misforståelse til, før at de folk, der har ligesom kastet alle deres evner og prestige ind bag projektet, at de faktisk kan få problemer med det. How does Lars relate to you?
How does he relate to me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what he really thinks, you know, and I think it's best not to know what he really thinks. But he seemed very glad to see me, which pleased me greatly, because I didn't understand. I was so surprised that he wanted to see me again after Dogville. I don't know why, but he did, and he's been really sweet with me this time. I think he thinks I'm somebody else. I don't know. I don't know why he's so nice to me. It is a director's medium. The directors own the movie, they own the actors, they own everything. They don't take any guff from any actor. I mean, I imagine, you see, there are some of these actors in California that are making this ridiculous amount of money who tell the directors what to do. But I was not trained that way in movies, and I don't believe in that. I believe that it is a director's medium, and it's his concept, and that as an actor you have your own facility, and you use your body and your mind to play the part, but it is the director who has the final word. It would seem to me that the best directors are interested in working with good actors, people of talent, but who have some pliability, so that they can bend a little bit if necessary. With a Lars, you have to bend a little bit. As an actor, if you accept a part in a Lars von Trier movie, you don't expect to get rich. That's out of the question. But you do expect to have an interesting experience. You expect it to be original and totally unlike anything you would find in America.
And in what way is it different?
Well, because he works in a completely original way. He works in a way that when I started in movies, and when I've always been taught in movies, you know, you learn your lines, you play the part, you have to hit certain marks for the camera, and there's none of that feeling at all in Lars movies. You have to be in an area, in a certain area, because he controls the camera movement. And I mean, you just go along with it. He tells you what he wants, and you better do it, is all I can say. You better do what he wants. It's his movie, that's what he wants, and that's what you do. And it's just not like that in America. I mean, in America, you usually rehearse scenes, and maybe you change a little something. Lars doesn't work that way.
So how long does it take to shoot a scene, for example?
Well, obviously it depends upon a scene. I mean, I had a very long scene yesterday, and it didn't take long at all, because we shot the whole thing just one long take. Well, I mean, we did it a couple of times from different angles, but Didn't take any time at all. But of course that was the brilliance of the acting.
You knew your lines.
No, this is not about looks with Lars van Trier, no. He doesn't light you individually, you know. We don't have the key light. We don't have all that stuff that Barbra Streisand has, for example. We have none of that. The light is wherever he wants it, and it's not going to be flattering. You know you're not going to look your best. But obviously, I mean, you come into a movie like this, you're not here to look your best. It has nothing to do with that. You're here to play the part and to work with Lars van Trier. I'm in favor of looking as good as you can look, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's impossible with Lars van Trier. It's as bad as you can look. No makeup, no hair, no this, no that. Okay, Lars. He used to come on, into the makeup department in Dogville, and I'd be sitting in the makeup chair saying, "No makeup, don't put anything on it." I'd go, oh God, I was suicidal. Please, just a little something to cover one or two bad spots. But but then finally you say, listen, what the hell? I mean, it's not, that's not what it's about. And it's not actually, if you're an actor, you have to make up your mind that it's not only about the way you look. It just isn't. And it shouldn't be. It should be about the way you are. And some people really respond well to it, and occasionally there are some that don't, because they just don't get it. And some of them, they think maybe it's pretentious or whatever. How dare he decide to do something like that, so foreign to what normal movie making is about? I say, well, it's time there was somebody that changed something. I mean, let's try new things. That's called progress, trying new things.
Let's start with a really dumb question. Why Manderlay? Is it meant to remind me of Rebecca, or is it does it sound like a good name for a mansion?
No, I don't know if it's meant to remind you of Rebecca. It reminds me of Rebecca, yes, very much so.
And which aspect of Rebecca, that you're in a place where things are not what they seem?
It could be that, but it's more that I like the film. So, Manderlay, it's obvious. I don't think so much about it. I just, So of course it's part of my knowledge, if you want to call it that, or it's something that is on the hard disk, and I use it. I don't go in and analyze it too much. Okay. But there's also a song by Kipling, this is it called The Road to Manderlay, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm to make of that what I will.
Yes.
Okay.
But don't tell me about it.
Okay, I won't.
No, please. We have tried to present this more as a comedy. To me, it's a comedy. It's lighter. Also, since the subject is much lighter, of course.
I was going to ask you about that. So we are allowed to laugh. There are certain things.
Oh yes, you should laugh. Yes, absolutely. I hope so. But I never know. You never know. With the Americans, you never know. Many things there were no idea behind, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Only
to kind of use, what shall we say, the conflicts and the characters to, use them as powers that are working against each other, and that is how you make, a fable or a story or some drama. And then, what shall we say, the forces or the elements of this is then issues that have a certain quality of that they are a bit dangerous subjects to kind of touch. But I come from, again, my beliefs and my family. They believe that anything should be discussed. And I think it's especially if things are painful to discuss, it should be, and I think that's kind of modern psychology also, is if things are painful, they should come out, and it will kind of help to heal the wounds, right? And I'm sure there are big wounds in the race problems in America and the race problems anywhere, but this, especially black and white confrontation in America or coexistence is a problematic thing, yes. I don't think people are that different, characters I'm sure are the same and people are the same all over. So I know some Danish people, even some black Danish people. And it's difficult for me to believe that blacks and whites should be so different in, character or psychological. I think actually it's proven that there's not a lot of difference. But men and female, that's a big difference. Danny took a long time to make his mind up whether to do the film or not. We had a long talk, and then he decided to do it, which I thought was very good. And it was really difficult to find somebody who wanted to do it, because of course this is a film where I don't think there are really any heroes in this film or any people who are only good. Which, without having seen every film in the world or every American film, then I think that we have come to a point where the best thing you could offer a black actor is a white role, right? That means a role where the color of his skin doesn't matter. And that's degrading in itself, but the most parts that the black actors will get today are, heroic parts, which must be terrible. I understand from history that first, they weren't in films at all. The whites made up their faces and were black, if you wanted a black person. And then later on they were in the films, but they were crooks and, bad guys. And now they are, all these things point towards a big problem in society. Of course it's a big scar. But the black parts in this are not only heroic. They are not heroic. They are no heroes, but they are human, I would say. So I think it would be good if we could come to that the best part they could get was a human part. In Denmark we have this integration policy, which I don't believe in at all. I believe that they should have taken the black people and given them Texas or something, right? No, but they actually talked about something like that when the slaves were given freedom. Give them a state, right? Because I'm sure that, things would have been completely different. Because then they could be racist, and then people could meet on equal terms. Actually, what I always respected America very much for is, that they allow that there's a Chinatown, and there's in New York, where I haven't been either, but I've been to London. But all this integration thing that we do in the Scandinavian countries, I don't believe in at all, because it creates such a lot of problems. Because if you had your own society, right, and then you met, then I think that the transformation, of course there will be a mixture, and there will be things will at a certain point, what do you say, emerge, but it would come from a much more equal basis. No, I don't think that whites are more racist than anybody. No, I believe in this Jakob Hobbes theory that of the internal racism, right? Like that there are, of course, from history, we are racist, but also that the black population has this maybe it's true, right? That somewhere into the black psychology is, of course, all these years of slavery or whatever, and it influences, right? And this is the internal racism that is in black and in white. And this is not, it's nothing that's it's not that, I think we should just accept it that it is there, and if we can accept that, then it's easier to meet. Everybody in the film, when you hear them talking, you would agree to it more or less what they say. And Grace's father, of course, as always, he's irritating and right, of course, all the time. You have to agree. You have to agree with him. It's nice to have different points of views. I like actually propaganda film very much, because it kind of it makes you think and a little bit, and then you get maybe you are convinced or by the opinion of the film, or you react against it, which is most common, especially when it's propaganda film, because then you feel in what direction the guy who made the films wants you to what he wants you to feel and how he wants you to react, and that's why my films are so complicated. So you're not really sure.
So
I'm cheating you into seeing the film, so you're not really sure. He wants to do this and this and this. But of course, when it ends with a lot of American photos of the darker side, maybe, of Americans.
Then, in case I didn't get it, you rubbed my nose in it.
Yeah, well, the first, maybe, that's propaganda. Yeah, sure. The end of the film is pure propaganda. But then again, it's not manipulated in the way that the pictures are not real. They are real. They are part of a reality. But of course, since they're all pointing in the same direction, and in that way, it's propaganda and manipulation. Yeah, it's springtime for Bush and America. No, that was just because I saw Mel Brooks the other day. Yeah, of course, there's a parallel to this to the Iraq War, and there's a very clear parallel, because she wants to make democracy in Manderlay, and I'm sure the Americans wants to bring their kind of democracy to the world. I was always taught by my father that mission, mission in the religious sense, that you're a missionary, that was the lowest you could get, because people should be allowed to believe in what they wanted. That was the most important thing. And if they should change, they should change. Nobody should change them. They should be they should see that others, blah blah blah, find out that their values were better or whatever. But mission, that means going somewhere and making people, have another religion or force it upon them. That is close to, this idea of bringing the American values to the world, which Bush talks about very openly. That is very bad morale. I think freeing a lot of people who wants to be free is beautiful, but kind of because if it's to export your way of thinking because their way of thinking is not right, that is very bad, I think. Oh, that's what my father taught me anyway. I think that, all teaching is actually wrong. That's a long story. I know we have to learn to read and write in order to communicate, be able to communicate, but which is very practical. But then again, as soon as somebody is standing up and saying, "I will teach you this and this," that means that he knows better, right? And I think that's always discussable, who knows better, especially when it comes to philosophy and politics and whatever, and religion, very much so. I'm not a sucker for religion, but I think that people should be allowed to believe in what they will. Of course, if they come to this country, they should, of course, obey the laws of this country and not kind of kill the Protestants, for instance. Even though the Protestants might be a good place to start. I don't know. But you know what I mean. They should, of course, follow the laws in the country, but they should absolutely. It's I'm sure it's the same in America, that people can believe in what they choose to. That you can't make them believe something. We don't really know what is best, right? Maybe it's not democracy, we don't know. What about in 1,000 years? Maybe it's something completely different. I'm sure that most dictators have been very sure that they were doing the right thing for the people. I don't really believe in this evil dictator that only kind of, I'm sure they turn out evil and they do evil things, I'm sure, but I don't think that they are, as a basis, they are evil. I'm sure they believe in what they're doing, and they believe that, Stalin called himself Little Father, right? So it's Little Father who's kind of just doing the best. And for some people, it was very good to go to Siberia or get a bullet in the back of the head, right? It seems. But I don't think it was out of evil. I don't think so. But this comes from some science that was made on people in concentration camps. I made some science, in the different how different personalities survive in a concentration camp, which I thought was very interesting. That there are different ways you could survive it, and there were also theories from the other side of how to control people, and that is that you should go into cooperation with the intellectual. That was what they did in the concentration camps. They would always there would be kind of a spiritual leader, and whenever you found one of these, then you had won, because then you would take him in and he would start to negotiate. And then they had, full power, because then they would say, should we kill these 4 children or, these 2 men? And he would end up by saying, kill the 2 men. And as soon as you start that kind of conversation, then, it was, but they always tried to go after this, the intellectual or spiritual leader of the people. And then they were fucked. They were fucked anyway, so who cares? But that was kind of psychology. The spiritual leaders are, and especially intellectuals, are dangerous.
Because you can appeal to their vanity.
No, but also that they mean so well, and it's very difficult when it's kind of life and death to be intellectual, And it's maybe better to be a simple person, has a simple view of things. Say, if you should kill 4 children or 2 males, I cannot say. Do what you like.
Is it better to starve in a democracy than to eat well under a tyrant?
Why is this for me?
Have you not raised this issue in your film?
Yeah, but I can't give an answer to it. It depends on, how hungry you are and who you are. What matters the most?
So for you, liberty, freedom in of itself is not necessarily a good in all cases.
No, but liberty and freedom is, as it's also discussed a little bit in the film, is always limited. Even in a democracy, as long as you are two people on an island, right? Then you have limited liberty, of course. But you can make some rules that can make you coexist in a way that where you feel free, but you are not free, right?
So you are not free. You, Lars von Trier, you don't feel free.
No, I don't feel free, but that's because of a lot of things that are not very free inside my very sick head.
You're your own tyrant.
Oh yes. I'm living under a dictatorship of little father. No, but freedom is, what is it? Isn't it that freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose? That's
So you think freedom's overrated?
I don't. But the minute you don't have it, then you long for it very much. I know that, and it's. I'm sure it's for some people it's been wonderful not to be free, so they could fight to be free. That's a very good thing to make you sleep easier, right? Nights, because today I've been fighting for freedom, and the next generation will thank me, and blah 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 blah. And then you fall asleep very easily. No, but I think as a basis you just have to be kind of good to each other, right? And that's of course not especially free, but that is a good rule to live by, to try to be good to each other. And the stronger you are, the more merciful you should be. That's another rule, I think. Why do I make films? I can only answer like Carl Dreyer because it's my only true passion, he said. Well, it is a passion, and it's something it's nice, it's fulfilling to do it, and I am doing films that are more, what shall we say, that wants to raise some questions, not just about film, but also about humans, politics, psychology, whatever. So in that sense, I'm older now. I'm old.
When you were young, did you want to make films that were entertaining?
No, I never. Oh shit! No. Yeah, maybe I wanted to, but I don't think. No, I've never. No. But when I was younger, it was. The media was enough in itself, right? It was art for art's sake, right? Now it's a little different. Now you should actually be able to use the film for something.
Good on.
Jeg er fuldstændig cool.
Lars, alle har citeret dig i dag for, at du sagde, at Bus var et røvhul. Der er ikke nogen, der er uvenner med dig, men du prøver at uddybe, hvorfor du sagde det.
Kan alle snakke lidt højt?
Ja. We have to speak in English, is that it? Jeg skal sådan... Dansk.
Startede Bush det hele?
Nej, det gjorde han ikke. Som jeg fortalte nogle andre, så har jeg haft faktisk et meget varmt forhold til Amerika, da jeg var barn, for jeg havde en masse børnebøger, der handlede om Amerika. Og jeg drømte om alle mulige ting. Og så har vi jo på dansk Flugten til Amerika, som desværre endte et andet sted, men man har et meget romantiseret forhold, og på det tidspunkt havde man, og det var så før. Ja, tingene skiftede jo så noget, da jeg blev ældre, så gik jeg i demonstrationstog og alt muligt. Men Bush synes jeg er et røvhul. Det er jo ikke sikkert, det er rigtigt. Jeg har jo ikke mødt ham, jeg har heller ikke været i Amerika. Men han har et røvhul, det kan jeg sige 100% sikkert. Men mindre han har en stomi, men så har han stadigvæk resterne af et gammelt røvhul. Ja, undskyld.
Kan du inte berätta lite hur du fick idén att det skulle handla om slaveri och demokrati?
Jamen i virkeligheden det er baseret på et forord, der blev skrevet til O's historie af en mand, som står i pressebogen der hedder, jeg kan sgu ikke huske det, men det viser sig at være Pauline Reage elsker, som hun faktisk har levet i sådan et sadomasochistisk forhold. Det er jo vanvittigt spændende, havde jeg vidst det, så havde jeg været meget mere inspireret. Nej. Men han skrev et forord om et slaveoprør i Karibien, som ender med, som der også står i bogen der, at de slår den tidligere slaveejer ihjel, fordi han ikke vil tage dem tilbage som slave. Og det bruger han så som en argumentation for berettigelsen af at skrive O's historie, hvilket jeg synes han måske er lidt svag, men jeg kan godt forstå det politisk. De har jo ikke noget at spise, de har ikke nogen hjem osv. Men den historie har jeg brugt som udgangspunkt for det her.
Det är ju väldigt provocerande och du ställer ju frågor som man kanske inte alltid vill ställa sig och sådana saker. Tycker du att det är roligt att provocera?
Ja, det har jo noget med ens karakter at gøre. Men jeg synes, det gør jeg måske. Jeg bilder mig ind, der også er andre grunde til, at jeg provocerer. For det første bilder mig ind, at det er positivt, fordi man dermed får åbnet nogle spørgsmål. Det, som jeg har snakket meget om i dag, det er, at grunden til, at der ikke er svar, det er, fordi at det gælder om, sådan fra et samfundsmæssigt synspunkt om at holde spørgsmålene åbne, sådan at vi siger, at ord hedder ikke bare demokrati, for demokrati er jo ikke bare demokrati. Det er noget, der bliver nødt til at blive diskuteret hele tiden. Og genopfriske det samme frihed, det er ikke bare et ord. Det er noget, der ligesom... Spørgsmålet bliver nødt til at blive holdt åben, fordi ellers så går vi ned, og så bliver det bare et ord, som vi netop ligesom ikke viser sig, at vi er enige om, når det kommer til stykket, og så kan det bruges til alting. Så derfor, så det er lidt det samme, der ligger i provokationen, det er åbenheden. Jeg vil sige, at jeg holder af at provokere mig selv. Det er jo så knap så slemt, kan man sige, som at provokere andre. Det er en eller anden grund. Lidt uartigt, ikke? Men jeg provokerer mig selv ved at stille spørgsmål til netop de ting, som jeg synes, jeg ved. Og som jeg tror på.
I Norge så har et utsagn, som heter «Menneskets hjerte forandrer seg aldri», av Sigrid Undset. Altså dette filmen din er jo også et budskap om at, sånn som jeg oppfatter det, at ingenting nytter. Grace vender jo tilbake til opprinnelsen, ikke sant? Hva er dine tanker om dette temaet?
Om ingenting nytter?
Ja. Du vender tilbake til alt.
Ja, det er jo sådan meget, det er så ligesom den slags film, som, som jeg åbenbart skriver. Men jeg vil sige, at det havde måske nyttet noget at starte med at gå ned og finde ud af, hvad det er for en befolkning, man gerne vil have skal blive demokratisk. I stedet for at starte med demokratiet som tanke, og så sige, at det skal vi så have spredt ud over. Det ville jo være meget godt at starte ned med ligesom at se, hvad fodstørrelse folk har, før man ligesom laver skolen.
Ser du en parallell til det i det som sker i Irak idag? Det
synes jeg er en klar parallel til. Det har ikke noget med manuskriptet at gøre, fordi manuskriptet var skrevet inden, men det synes jeg, der er en klar parallel til. Og man fatter ikke, at amerikanerne er så dumme, for de ved, de kan ikke komme fra. Og det sker det samme hver eneste gang.
Vilken är din relation till Grace? Vad tycker du om Grace?
Til Grace, altså karakteren Grace. Jamen, men det er sådan en slags selvportræt. Det er lidt, det må jeg sige. Ja, jo. Det er det. Det er sikkert som en del af mig, ja.
Du sammenligner hende med Bush.
Hvis man sammenligner hende med Bush.
Du gør det selv i den lille bog her, I har udgivet om dig.
Okay.
Du siger, at hun er dum og naiv på samme tid, men hun er meget velmenende.
Han er sgu nok, ja.
Men meget velmenende. Ligesom Bush. Du tror, Bush han gør tingene af et godt hjerte.
Nej, jeg tror ikke, man næsten kan gøre sådan noget uden. Jeg tror det er lidt som med sådan noget, som jeg laver her, at alle de der taktiske manøvrer og ting og sager, som man læser alle mulige steder det foregår altså ikke i virkeligheden. Jeg ved godt, det er en killer at skrive i en avis, men det foregår altså ikke i virkeligheden. Alle de der og sælge scenesættelser og ting og sager, det er der ikke noget. Det er umenneskeligt at gøre det på det plan, som jeg er blevet tillagt at gøre, og som Bush, han kan kun gøre det, hvis han mener det. Selvfølgelig får han noget, men samtidig, du får så mange millioner kroner i olieinteresse. Sådan fungerer det altså ikke. Det kan godt være på et ubevidst plan, men dybest set tror han på det, og det bliver en bedre verden. Det er jeg fuldstændig sikker på. Og det tror jeg også Stalin gjorde, og Hitler og alle dem der. Jeg er fuldstændig sikker på, at de mente det. Ja, men det undskylder jo ikke noget. Men jeg tror ikke, man kan fungere uden et eller andet sted at mene det. Så kan du ikke overleve. Ja.
Jag är lite nyfiken på hur skådespelarna reagerade när de läste manuskriptet, om ni hade diskussioner runt det.
Ja, jeg havde nej, ikke meget. Jo, primært havde det med Danny Glover, der havde jeg en hel del.
Hvad prater ni om da?
Jamen han er meget, altså for det første er amerikanerne jo meget, meget mere forsigtige, ikke? De engelske skuespillere, vi har haft, har været meget, meget nemme at kunne fortælle om meget. De synes, det var skide sjovt, ikke? Og vi har bare lavet racistiske vittigheder alle optagelserne, ikke? Men det deltager amerikanerne ikke i på samme måde. Det kan de ikke. Det er simpelthen for åbent et sår og for vigtigt og alt det der. Det forstår jeg godt. Og derfor så har vi haft nogle diskussioner om, men han var meget glad for filmen, og det er faktisk meget vigtigt for mig, at han blev glad for den. Fordi jeg prøvede at forklare, hvordan den skulle være, og hvordan den ligesom ikke skulle have nogen sådan speciel, men den skulle være sådan lidt, ambiguous, sådan noget, dobbelttid, ikke? Og han var glad for det, og det var virkelig godt.
När ni spelade in Manderlay, vad var den största utmaningen för dig för att få till en färdig film? Var det en bra inspelning? Det flöt på och alla var nöjda och glada, eller?
Alle er jo ikke altid nøjde og glade, men ja, rimeligt. Og vi havde det skide sjovt med englænderne. De havde det. De kaldte mig Massa hver morgen. Pigerne der. Massa, don't whip me, I know my lines today. Så det var på det plan, men det var så ikke det amerikanske plan. Det havde jeg det fint med. Der var sådan en sadomasochistisk undertone, som jeg holder meget af. Hvad?
Hvor mange amerikanske stjerner var du omkring før Danny Glover så?
Vi ledte lidt. Danny kom ind og ville gerne. Det er ikke nemt for ham. Også fordi han er jo så politisk aktiv. De andre folk, som vi har været inde omkring, har også været der. Og fra flere af dem, og nu vil jeg sætte af, men vil ikke nogen navn på, for det må jeg heller ikke, eller det må jeg gerne, men det har jeg ikke lyst til. At de sagde samstemmende, at de var virkelig glade for, at den her film blev lavet, men at de ikke turde være med i den. Så det kan godt være, at den er meget lidt provokerende i Danmark, men det er den altså, det er altså anderledes i USA.
Tror du, når Manderlay ikke i samme grad bliver opfattet, i hvert fald af amerikanerne, som anti-amerikansk, tror du, det er fordi emnet er mere universelt, tematikken, eller fordi amerikanerne selv er blevet mere kritiske over for eksempel Irak-krigen?
Jeg tror, det er, fordi de er så sindssygt bange for den der racekonflikt, så det gør, så man simpelthen holder kæft. Det var så sjovt til den der pressekonference. Der var ikke et eneste kritisk. Det er den nemmeste, mest afdæmpede pressekonference, jeg nogensinde har været til. Det er der, fordi jeg sidder mellem to, nu må jeg ikke sige næger, men altså to sorte, farvede, hvad fanden hedder det på dansk?
Afroamerikanere.
Nej, det gør det kraftedeme ikke på dansk.
Det er den politisk korrekte terminologi.
Ja, det er muligt, men den ene er ikke amerikaner. Hvad skal man så sige? Afrikaner, afro-franco... Hold nu kæft. Det er altså sådan noget, som virkelig... Og jeg forstår, det er vigtigt ude i verden, ikke så vigtigt i Skandinavien. Men det nytter jo ikke noget, at man har et ord, man ikke engang ved, hvad er, så man skal gå helt over at lade være med at snakke om gruppen overhovedet, fordi man ikke ved, hvorfor ord man skal bruge. Det er jo også farligt. Og jeg er fuldstændig sikker på, at det er det. Der var en, der havde skrevet, at jeg var en nazist. Det var jo dejligt. Fordi så skete der noget. Men det er ligesom fordi, at jeg ikke tror på demokratiet, men det siger film jo heller ikke. Så det er ligesom, den er meget, meget vanskelig at kritisere fra det synspunkt, men den er anti-amerikansk. Det er fordi, er det anti-amerikansk og synes, at de sorte er blevet forkert behandlet? Nej, det er ikke anti-amerikansk. Du kan næsten ikke sige noget. Det er umuligt, og det må være meget svært.
Deres anmeldelserne er jo meget blandet på den her film.
Okay, jeg har ikke læst den eneste.
Det ved jeg, siger du hver gang.
Ja, men den gang har jeg rent faktisk ikke læst den eneste.
Så du
Skolelærerfilm, hvad var det?
Kan du tænke dig mig, vi gjør det præsident?
At være præsident? Nej. Jeg kunne heller ikke tænke mig at sidde i en jury.
Er du nogensinde blevet spurgt?
Ja. Ikke om jeg vil være præsident, men jeg er da blevet spurgt, om jeg vil sidde i en jury, ja.
Har du set nogle af de andre film?
Nej.
Hvorfor vil du ikke sidde i en jury?
Jamen, fordi hvis jeg kunne selv få lov at være en jury, det kunne jeg ikke engang tænke mig på, hvad har glædet mig folk af det?
Hur var det att återvända till samma scenografi i den stora studion i Trollhättan?
Jamen, det har det i og for sig fint, men det er jo en beslutning, jeg har gjort at lave de her 3 film. Det er lidt sådan en manddomsprøve, fordi at jeg har det jo i virkeligheden nemmere ved at finde på noget andet, men samtidig synes jeg, at den her stil er god og vigtig i en tid med computer, hvor det hele vælter rundt i effekter, så synes jeg, at det er godt at demonstrere, at man kan altså også gøre det på en anden måde, og du kan fortælle en historie, og folk kan føle sig underholdt af den og grine og alt muligt, uden at der behøver ligesom være det store naturalistiske udtræk. Problemet med naturalismen er jo også, at alting er jo lavet i en eller anden form for naturalisme nu. Og det synes jeg altså er en belastning, ikke? Når tingene har en tendens til at gå i stå, når man kopierer sig selv hele tiden.
I Dublin så förde du kameran ganska mycket själv.
Ja.
Hur var det den här gången? Har du överlåtit allt kamerarbete till Anthony Dodd Mantle eller har du också...
Nej, det er samma sak. Jeg tror, jeg har filmet 98% eller någonting sånt af det, som sidder i filmen.
Kan du berätta lite grann om den her trilogi?
Toren kom meget hurtigt efter, og nu har jeg så arbejdet et halvt år på den der 3'er, og det fungerer ikke. Det er noget lort simpelthen, og det var faktisk Peter Aalbæk, der sagde det til mig, det er jo ikke sjovt. Altså for mig at lave det, og hvis det ikke er sjovt for mig at lave det, så kan jeg ikke lave det, sådan er det altså. Det kan man jo sige er luksus, men samtidig er det også helt klart meget dårligere, hvis det ikke er sjovt.
Så det kan tänkas att den tredje delen aldrig kommer?
Det kan jo altid tænkes, jeg er jo virkelig, men det er jo også, jeg elsker jo alle de ufuldendte værker, ikke? Dem kan vi jo bedst lide, ikke? Så. Men nej, jeg har absolut ambitioner om det, og jeg har skrevet et halvt år på den, og jeg har aftalt med både Nicole og Bryce, at de skulle være med til februar, og det bliver ikke til noget, fordi at jeg skriver den ikke til februar, fordi det skal, den må selv melde sin ankomst, og så være en nødvendighed. Så nu har jeg tænkt mig at lave en lille dansk film i stedet for. Som en lille slags afslapning.
Hvad vil det sige, at aftalt med begge to?
Ja, at de skulle være med, fordi at det var sådan noget med nogle søstre og sådan noget, der var historien på det tidspunkt.
Hvem skulle så være Grace?
Jamen, det ligger ikke fast. Ja. Det ligger ikke fast, men da jeg opererede med en sød og en ond søster, så vil alle jo helst være den onde, for det er jo den sjove rolle.
Hvad er det, som gør, at ikke du kommer i gang med Washington? Hvad er problemet?
Det er, fordi jeg skrev noget, der var noget lort. Og det kan ikke godt nok. Nej, jeg bliver nødt til at have en glæde og en fascination ved det for at...
Og du venter på en ny krig?
Nej, for den var der jo ikke, da jeg skrev det andet manuskript. Nej, men det er ok. På den måde, hvis jeg bare kiggede på de aktuelle ting, så var der inspiration nok. Nej, jeg bliver desværre nødt til at finde det et eller andet sted dybt inde i mit eget selviske selv.
Titlen på din nye dogmefilm, hedder Direktøren for det hele. Hvad er det for en direktør?
Er det Peter Aalbæk?
Der er mange direktører for det hele. Nej, det er en historie fra, vi havde et landhus, hvor der var en eller anden ussel direktør, som ingen anede, hvad var for. Men hende, konen, der boede på gården, hun synes, det var så fint, at han var direktør. Så det begyndte vi at kalde ham direktøren for det hele, fordi og det havde han. Det var bare en lille vittighed. Jeg ved ikke, hvor det der med at stoppe med dogmen, det tror jeg mere Peter Aalbæk, der ligesom... Han vil give sin sjæl for 2 ord på tryk, ikke? Så hvad som helst. Nej, jeg har altid syntes, at det der, vi har lagt ud på nettet, og vi har lagt certifikat ud på nettet, så folk kan bruge det, hvis de har lyst til det. Og hvis nogen har glæde af det, skal de gøre det, eller skal de fandme lade være. Men jeg har altid, eller jeg har
det er folk, der ligesom kommer og siger, jeg er så træt af at lave film, og hvad skal jeg finde på? Og så siger jeg, så tager en lille pille, der hedder en dogmefilm, fordi det er, det svarer, jeg sagde til nogle andre journalister, det svarer til, at I tager en uges tid på Ringsteds Tidende. Undskyld, har jeg ret? Ja. Nej, men ligesom gå ned og laver havestof, hus og havestof en uges tid, for bare at slappe lidt af. Og ligesom få klaret hjernen, ikke? Det er måske ikke særlig spændende, men det er sgu også lidt tiltalende, kunne jeg forestille mig for nogle af jer, lige at, nu tager vi den lige med ro, tager vi cyklen frem, og så kører vi ud og ser på Borgman et eller andet, Pelagonia, og så skriver vi den der.
Det er løsfyldt at komme til Cannes med den også.
Det kan jeg slet ikke forestille mig. Det kan jeg slet ikke forestille mig. Jeg kan slet ikke forestille mig, at den skal nogen sted. Jeg kan slet ikke se så langt.
Har du ikke på noget tidspunkt overvejet at samle stof til en filmisk fortælling om, hvad der sker på bunden af samfundet hjemme hos os? Hos de indvandrerne, de marginaliserede, de udstødte? Eller har Per Fly sat sig på den dagsorden?
Den skal lave en amerikansk instruktør.
Ja, det vil nok. Ja, man kan jo sige, at det har den fordel, når folk kommer udefra. Nu Per Fly er jo en rigtig udstødt mand. Ja, for sig. Nej, det har jeg ikke tænkt over. Men jeg har jo aldrig tænkt over at lave ting på den måde, som var aktuelle. Jeg har aldrig gået efter det aktuelle og nu. Det er jo nogle andre ting, der har sat mig i gang med at skrive tingene. Og det ved jeg ikke hvorfor, det er sikkert ikke særlig sympatisk heller, men det har bare aldrig været det, der har sat mig i gang. Og at noget var specielt dansk har heller ikke sat mig i gang. Jeg har ligesom, mit filmbillede har været internationalt på den måde, at mine forbilleder har været andre end danske film, og derfor så er de højst sandsynligt også blevet på andre sprog, eller de er, jeg betragter dem ikke som særligt danske, men nu er de jo så danske, skolelæreragtige og meget lidt provokerende.
Du bliver snart 50, og du har vel lige arbejdet lidt med nogle genudgivelser af dine gamle film på DVD og sådan noget, og fået gense dine film. Hvad synes du om den unge Lars i dag?
Det var sgu ikke så dårligt. Jeg synes i mange år, jeg slet ikke kunne holde ud og se det. Jeg synes faktisk, jeg var der nogle idéer. Så hvis han bliver behandlet på den rigtige måde, så kunne han godt.
Og også personen den unge Lars.
Jeg prøver mig hverken om den unge eller den gamle. Ikke rigtig sådan for alvor, men det håber jeg at komme til i min alderdom og lære mig selv og elske mig selv lidt mere. Det tror jeg vil være rigtig godt.
I den forbindelse...
Selvom I tror, at jeg elsker mig selv af helvede til.
I den forbindelse, du arbejdede jo mange år med en lille størrelse.
Det er rigtigt, ja.
Og så efter, når Breaking the Waves kommer, så er det intet. Har I ikke nogen kontakt?
Vi har en lille smule kontakt. Jeg skiftede jo ligesom bane på et tidspunkt. Først var det, hvad skal man sige, det følelsesmæssige kommer ind sammen med Breaking the Waves. Og det var absolut ikke noget, der interesserede Niels. Og så kan man sige, at jeg savner ham, det må jeg sige, men jeg snakker med ham en gang imellem, men det er ikke blevet til et samarbejde endnu. Jeg ved ikke, problemet er også, at du vokser jo i en eller anden retning, og jeg er højst sandsynligt med årene blevet mere og mere diktatorisk. Det tror jeg nok er rigtigt. I hvert fald på manuskriptplanet, da jeg jo selv har skrevet den meste. Så det er skide svært. Ikke at være det.
Kan du fortælle lidt om den her film Antikrist, som ikke blev lavet?
Ja, det kan den blev ikke lavet, fordi Peter Aalbæk fortalte slutningen på den.
Punchlinen?
Ja. I princippet, det var butleren, der gjorde det. Det var det eneste, han havde forstået, da jeg fortalte om historien. Så gik han straks til pressen med den. Hvilket måske er det dummeste, nogen producer nogensinde har gjort. Fordi der må være mange dumme ting, som folk er gået over og gået på røven og alt det der. Men ligesom at gå med slutningen. Det kan jeg ikke forestille mig, det kan være dummere. Men det er da også en charme ved manden.
Ville den der med Nicole Kidman? Eller var det noget, I snakkede om?
Jeg har snakket med hende om alle mulige ting, men det ved jeg ikke, hvad der skulle være blevet. Men det kunne jeg heldigvis pakke sammen og stoppe skråt op, som det hedder. For det kunne jeg ligesom ikke komme videre med, fordi specielt mig, jeg skriver historierne bagfra, ikke så... Men nu er det begyndt så efterhånden igen at sige goddag til ham, så det er da meget godt. Men det skal han vel også videre til pressen.
Jeg skal godt spørge, hvad sker der med Riget 3 og Dimension? Og Dimension?
Heller ikke.
Må man
så jeg har jo
må man se det, du har gjort nogle dage? Du har gjort meget på den, eller lidt?
Jeg har gjort meget lidt. det har jeg ikke rigtig taget stilling til. Faktisk nej, det ved jeg ikke. Det kan jeg ikke svare på.
Kan man ikke med ringen så, når nu vi er rundt om?
Jamen ringen... skal jeg igen holde kæft. Jamen hele mit liv er jo endt i diplomati. Jeg laver ikke ringen.
Uddyb det lidt.
Jamen jeg kan ikke uddybe det på anden måde, end at den plan, jeg havde for ringen, ikke var realiserbar.
Men kan du fortælle lidt om dit samarbejde med Thomas Vinterberg og Lone Scherfing?
Ja, altså fidusen er i begge samarbejder, at der ikke er noget samarbejde. De overtager manuskriptet, og derefter laver de ændringer, der skal laves, og så overtager de hele projektet. Ja, det er et princip, for ellers kan jeg ikke holde det ud. Det er ligesom at sidde ved siden af, når nogen kører. Ikke? Det kan man ikke... Jeg synes, man kommer lidt tæt på højre side spejlet og sådan noget. Ikke?
Har du skrevet specielt til Lone?
Nej, det har jeg ikke. Den ene film skrev jeg til mig selv, Dear Wendy, som jeg så ikke lavede, fordi jeg skulle lave den her. Og så den anden har jeg faktisk skrevet, men ikke decideret. Det var hele tiden mit håb, at Lone ville lave den. Så det håber jeg stadigvæk. Nu har hun en eller anden engelsk film, som jeg ikke ved, hvordan det går med, men jeg håber stadigvæk. Det tror vi på.
Sådan det.
Han hedder
Fly me to the moon. Ja, nej, det skal jeg nok. Det kan du tro.
Du har i et interview i et dansk magasin langet lidt ud efter de danske manuskriptforfattere, blandt andet Kim Fupz og Anders Thomas Jensen.
Ja.
Og altså for at være lidt for professionel, det gør ikke ondt på Anders Thomas, for eksempel, når han skriver om en helikopter, der falder ned i Afghanistan. Gør det ondt på dig, når du skriver en helikopter, der falder ned?
Ja, der er jeg så heldig, så det tror jeg.
Ja. Men handler det ikke også om, at de her manuskripter, de forvandler sig også i mødet med en instruktør, altså at det er instruktøren, der ligesom, og det handler vel også om, hvad der foregår hos publikum, mere end hos manuskriptforfatter?
Jo. Problemet er, efter min mening, at det er det samme til, at jeg kritiserer også mig selv, men lad mig så kritisere andre for det, og så kan I sige, at det gælder det samme for mig selv. At instruktører forhåbentlig har en eller anden følelsesmæssig tilknytning til et emne, og så vælger de det emne, og så har de nogle ting omkring det, og så kommer der en manuskriptforfatter ind, som mange gange bare homogeniserer stoffet fuldstændig vildt, hvorefter der ikke er noget som helst tilbage af den oprindelige intention eller følelse. Det synes jeg er et stort problem, og specielt når de skriver 50 manuskripter om året, eller hvor meget det er. Anders Thomas, han skriver samtidig på 7 manuskripter. Det er da godt, at det er godt og smart. Manden er skide dygtig, der er ingen tvivl om det, men det er bare... Hvad er det, der skal virke?
Det skal stå i den sted. Så får jeg at vide, jeg skal sige til dig.
Hvorfor? Jamen, hvorfor fik jeg den så i hånden, kan man sige?
Jamen, det synes jeg, at vi skulle synge, tror jeg.
Behøves det?
Hvad helt præcis er der i den anden ende af den der?
Evigheter utan.
Jeg kan ikke huske, hvad vi snakker. Anders Thomas, når jeg og Fupz, de er meget dygtige. Jeg synes, at det er noget... det er sådan en forstærkning. Jeg er betænkelig ved det, men jeg har jo aldrig brugt mig om danske film, så det er jo fuldstændig underordnet.
Stadigvæk ikke.
Jeg ser jo nogle af dem, og som der er udløb på nummer 2, 7 og 8. Der er en maskine her, jeg ved ikke, hvem den tilhører. Så hvor båndet er løbet ud. Den lægger vi lidt væk, det gør ikke noget, vel?
Nej, men du sagde, du var jo meget vred på dansk film i begyndelsen af 80'erne.
Men det var der heller ingen grund til andet.
Ja.
Det er klart, jeg er blevet noget mere diplomatisk, efter jeg er blevet foretagende ejer eller medejer.
Du har også sagt, at ingen i Danmark danner skole, drejer dannet aldrig skole.
Nå, men det er jo ikke nogen kritik. Det er mere, at der ikke er nogen, der har taget op.
Men mit spørgsmål er, tror du, at du har dannet en skole? Eller åbnet noget?
Nej, det kan jo godt være. Sådan er det jo sikkert, når man jo har været i Cannes mange gange. Så det kan da godt være. Der var der også pludselig... Jeg husker, da Bjørn Borg spillede tennis, så var der pludselig en masse, der spillede tennis. Der er flere, der laver film, når man ligesom kan se, at der ligesom er lidt eksponering til. Det er meget sandsynligt. Om det er godt eller dårligt, skal jeg ikke sige.
Har du stadigvæk Dreyers smoking?
Den har jeg lige doneret til Filmmuseet, fordi jeg er simpelthen blevet for fed til den. Så synes jeg, det var åndssvagt, at den hang op samlet støv. Så
du kunne ikke finde en tynd fyr, som laver film?
Og ja, det skulle jeg selvfølgelig have gjort og givet den videre til. Ja, så vil vi kaste op på striben, som det hedder. Ja.
Mine kolleger forteller meg, for jeg får ta den søramerikanske versjonen nå, det er alltid en søramerikaner som spør om sitt land, og det er siden 17. mai i dag, nasjonaldag i Norge, så må jeg spørre deg, har du noen synspunkter på norsk film, utvikling der?
Det er ikke meget mærkeligt, at man ligesom river sig løs af Danmark, hvor man får en dansk konge, er det ikke fuldstændig godnat? Det siger vel lidt om den intelligensen i, nej, jeg skal ikke sige noget. Det er en Norges historie. Den 17. maj, det er dejligt. Det er dejligt. Om jeg kan sige noget om norsk film meget lidt, nej, jeg ser endnu færre norske film. Jeg har lige genset Bjergkøbing Grand Prix sammen med børnene på en meget, meget usel DVD, så jeg vil gerne opfordre til at genindspille en DVD på Bjergkøbing Grand Prix.
Tror du ville være den filmskaber, du er i dag, hvis det ikke var for alle de priser, du har vundet i Cannes?
Ja, hvis det ikke var for formiddagsbladene, ja, det tror jeg. Men nej, hvis det ikke var for alle de priser, jeg har fundet
for alle de gange, du har været i Cannes?
Nej, jeg ved ikke, om hvad for en filmskaber jeg er, men jeg ved, hvad for nogle muligheder jeg har for at producere, og det tror jeg ikke havde været det samme, hvis jeg ikke var blevet inviteret til Cannes. Nej. Og derfor er jeg glad for det. Du har da ikke noget tak. Godt. Så. Tak. Og husk at skifte nære ud med farvet eller sort. Eller. Ja.
Du ikke kan finde ud af det på filmen?
Nej, det er klart. Ja. Hvor store typer kan det komme i?
Bryce Dallas Howard, this is all of Scandinavia.
Lars says that Grace is actually him. How was it like to play him? Did you even think about that?
I never thought about that. It would be very difficult to play Grace if I thought I was playing Lars.
Did he ever tell you that?
He mentioned to me once, because I asked him, why are most of your films about women? And I don't want to misquote him, but he said something along the lines of, it's all of his films are actually about him, and he feels like women or women's sensitivity represents him better. And so I understand that after knowing him for a little while. But it would have been difficult for me to play a part while trying to pretend to be someone else.
Making The Village and working with Korea, has that changed your career in any way?
Oh, yeah.
In what way?
I used to have no film career now. Maybe I do.
How has your kind of childhood and upbringing been? Have you had all of these like actors and people running around at home?
No, not at all. No, my parents are incredibly private, and they've been together since they were 16 years old. It's actually going to be their 30-year anniversary in 2 weeks, which is very exciting. But because of that, they had kids very young, and they didn't want to invade the family with my dad's work. And so I was never really around actors when I was a kid. I was on the set, but it wasn't around the actors. But I had a very unusual and marvelous childhood in the sense that I got to travel a lot, and I hope I can offer that to my children.
What year are you born?
What year? Yeah. 1981.
81, so you were born after American Graffiti.
Yeah.
You watch your father? You watched the courtship about his father and
no, I've actually,
Obi.
Yeah, I've never seen that film. I did see the Andy Griffith Show and American Graffiti.
Do you see any likeness? I mean, you've seen yourself on the screen as well.
His nose.
When did you feel that you wanted to become an actress? Because sometimes when you grow up in an artist family, you become just the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a brother who is a scientist, a sister who's a veterinarian, and another sister who's going to be an actress, and then myself who's acting. I decided, I made a choice to act when I was applying to university. I was enchanted by the idea beforehand, but didn't really think of it as a real possibility because of the way that I was incredibly kind of frumpy and shy and freaked out by the notion of talking in front of a group of people. How things have changed.
How come? What happened?
I don't know, but something did happen, and it happened relatively recently, within the last 5 years. I think when I started acting, in a way, and this is going to sound incredibly cheesy, I found a purpose. I found something to put my energy into that was outside of myself, whereas before then I was very concerned about myself and about how I was being perceived, or if that boy liked me, and just kind of ridiculous things that we do when we're younger. And when I started working and reading and really educating myself, I realized that these things were bigger than I was, and I was not so concerned about myself anymore.
Oops. Starting to rain.
Here comes the umbrella. Thank God. There's like trickle.
You only bring one.
Totally unjust.
Where does your name come from? Bryce Dallas.
Bryce is after Bryce Canyon. Both my parents are redheads, and they knew I was going to be a redhead, so they named me after that. And it's a very red canyon. And Dallas is where I was conceived, in Texas. Howard is my last name.
Grace has been played before by Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
How did you relate to that performance? Did you watch her and try to do something similar, or try to do something very different?
Yeah.
Or kind of...
I of course thought her performance was brilliant, and I wanted to take on a certain quality that she had in Dogville, but I wanted to create a totally different character than that. So her character in Dogville was enslaved, and the character that I play in Manderlay is empowered. It's the complete opposite. So while keeping this quality of quietness and kind of someone who's bogged down with a certain kind of responsibility, creating a woman who's empowered and has these big ideas of the way that things should be, and thinks that she can make these ideas a reality.
Did Lars have a say in your interpretation as well? That he didn't want it to be like Nicole's, or he wanted it to be, or?
No, well, he gave me the freedom to explore. He said, I think this is a different Grace, and that's basically, that's what he said. Ooh, which one's this? So you don't come to mine. Okay. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. But when it comes to his work, while he's working, he's a man of few words, because he doesn't want to stifle anyone. It was important for me to not mimic her performance.
Have you met Nicole?
Yes, I've met Nicole.
Discussed Grace?
No, never discussed Grace. Not intentionally, of course, but it just never happened.
How's your father's reaction to you working with Lars von Trier and his style, which is so totally different?
Yeah, Lars is a brilliant filmmaker who's really invented his own style of filmmaking, which I think is every filmmaker's dream. So my dad is always asking me questions about him and asking me how he works and what he does on set, and does he have rehearsal, and how long does he shoot for, and what kind of film does he shoot on, and he saw the film, and he thinks it's astounding. It's incredible.
How do you think the film will be received in the States?
I have no idea.
Can you imagine?
No.
Did you hear any comments from friends?
No. I know that there's a lot of curiosity, and that's exciting, because I hope that as many people see this film as possible, and I hope that they react to it. But I have no idea what that reaction might be.
How did you feel when you saw the film?
Well, I was just so proud of Lars, and it really struck me for the first time that I was in a Lars von Trier film. You know, when you see something that's kind of shaky, you realize, oh my God, I really am in one of his movies. He allows the actors a lot of freedom. There's no rehearsal whatsoever. You memorize the text and you show up on set, and then you start shooting. You're able to stay in the character and stay in the scene and just try it again and again and again and again and again. And often, when you're shooting on a film, you leave after 2 or 3 takes and you think, oh God, I wish I could have tried this or that, or you ask the director permission to try it one way and they say, listen, we don't really have time for that. And with Lars, you're able to try everything, and then he cuts together the performance that he wants everyone to see.
What was your reaction when you read the script for the first time?
I was incredibly inspired by it, that somebody would be so bold. This is an embarrassing thing that I think everybody participates in. Everybody participates in oppression in one form or another, judging someone, being judged, and I think it's a discussion that needs to happen.
Was it strange for you to act in this scenography in the big studio in Trollhättan?
No, it was wonderful because there was no set, and so I could just imagine anything that I wanted. You know, it was like being a little kid and just creating the world around you. There were infinite possibilities.
So, pretty rough love-making scene in the movie. How do you feel about doing that?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that was really difficult to shoot. That was really difficult, but it's obviously a pivotal moment in the film, and so I did it. And Lars really helped me through that. The night before, actually, I said to him, I said, can't we just move it? And he's laughing. I'm like, no, seriously, can't we just move it? And he said, listen, if there's a moment where I see that you're going to a place that you can't come back from, I'll stop. You know, I'm not going to let you lose yourself. At the end, he said, dare I say it, I feel very satisfied.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Could I hold it for you?
No, I got it.
Okay. Could I just...
Get the reindeer out.
Thank you. So we should get started. First question, anybody?
Yes, Danny Glover, you said some very interesting things yesterday in the press conference about Black American history. Do you have further things to add to?
The question is our willingness is always to talk about these things. You know, we derive whatever understanding, a better understanding, from our willingness, and I underline that word, to talk about this and not suppress that. So that's basically what I was saying, you know. Now, what does that have to do with the film? I don't know, you know, because in this sense, what we try to do, all of us have tried to do, is to bring the depth of our human experience to the process, and that is within the context of the story that Lars was trying to tell.
What was your reaction when you read the script for the first time?
I have a mixed feeling. The first time, I was a little bit unhappy.
Why?
Unhappy because I thought it could have a story brought to me by a brother, an African American director. I would love that, you know. I would love that. But that was the first part, and the second part is I really wondered how this guy who was not American could be that accurate in his description of the layers which can be inside each character throughout the film, and that was really beautiful. And at the same time, I felt like I had room for bringing my own experience to that kind of story.
Okay.
first time, my reaction was one of really anxiety about what was happening here, what was the possibilities. But each time you read the script, as always, you know, you either become drawn more and more into the writer / director's attempt to convey an idea, and the idea is much broader than just slavery. So I began to say, okay, now let me try to imagine that and imagining what's happening within that framework that he has put out here. And I found at each time that I read it, I found it more compelling. Now, if I had read it the first time and put it down and said, okay, so did my all of a sudden my anxieties vanish? No, because now you have the words. Now you put this in the hands of actors and put this in the hands of the director and the choices he makes. Then you have to say, what is in this guy's heart? You know, what is he trying to say? What's in his heart? And as all of us saying, the one thing that comes to this family that you build around the film is trust and what's in the heart. And the directors, what we feel is in the heart, if the director is something that we could work with, then that certainly helps us in the process.
Okay. And your reaction?
When I read the script, first of all, I know Isaac and Danny were going to be in the movie. Okay, so that provided something of a little buffer for me about, is this cool? Because some of the script seemed very outrageous in its ideas, also in its melodrama. I have no problem with stereotypes because sometimes that's where you got to start when you really want to talk about something. Yeah. And I trust Lars just from seeing his other work as an artist. Now I know his reputation of being a provocateur, and I just, the more I read it, I had this reaction a couple of times, like, wow, can you really, is this going to wash? Can you have this kind of discussion? And I started getting seduced into that, because I think one thing that Lars does is he's a guy that struggles with pushing what's acceptable to find the truth. And he abhors a kind of comfortable political correctness. So he takes something that's so fraught with shame and injustice and guilt and anger, like a story about slavery. And it feels very outrageous. But I realized the shadow of that, for me anyway, was a lot about what was going on now, politically, all through the world. So, of course, the story is a slavery story, and I'm not saying it's not about slavery, but for me, maybe it's because I'm not black. I go more to, it has resonances, to situation like in Iraq, or some feelings I have about capitalism.
I have a question to Danny Glover. In the Internet Movie Database, you are quoted for saying, "Every day of my life I walk with the idea I'm black, no matter how successful I am." Could you comment that?
I think it's probably self-evident. I mean, I mean, it's certainly it's not a distraction for me. I mean, the realization that we live in a world that's often polarized into one in which it is those and the other, them and the others, is quite evident. I don't in any way, it no way debilitates me. All it means is me that I acknowledge it, and the things that I do often are designed to help me to struggle more, to identify what are the places where I can struggle, where I can feel that the change is happening. Those are all the things that I do. So it's simply an acknowledgement. In no way do I go up and crawl in a corner, or go and go off on some sort of self-destructive binge because of that. But the fact is that I know that, and I do that, and I understand that, and that everything that I come into contact, it really makes me realize that. There's beautiful things about that as well, aside of the negative things. Sometimes I see people in the midst of struggle and trying to change what's happening in their neighborhood, in their community. I don't care where it is. I don't care whether it's in Latin America, whether it's in Africa or whatever. And I'm saying, boy, look at all the richness that these people bring to their condition and to their situation. So what I'm saying is that the fact that I said that is clear that I understand where I stand in the world, basically.
The parts you get that you have gotten through your career, have there often been like references to your skin color in the script? I know that Sidney Poitier worked for I think 16, 17 years in cinema before he had a part where there was no reference to his skin color.
I mean, you take the obvious. I mean, take a role like Lethal Weapon. There were three other actors that they were considering for it. I was happening to be one. The other two actors were white. You know what I'm saying? So there was no reference at all to my skin color in the first Lethal Weapon at all. So, I mean, and that's a good sign because it was what we often call non-racial casting, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But that was a good sign, you know, in a sense. There's a sense that those possibilities have. I think that's clearly one of the things. Whose stories are told, whose stories are important, whose stories are validated, whose stories are marginalized and dismissed. You know, another way just to think about storytelling, I had this discussion, running discussion about the movies that we see, you know, and the movies that are out there. And I was taking a movie like, for instance, Troy, a movie like Gladiators, or you could make a movie like Alexander the Great. All of them, in a sense, define the idea of empire. And when empire gets anxious, as it is now, it comes up with a flurry of movies about its self-imposing, of reimagining itself, or reconstituting itself, or strengthening itself. You know, I'm in a movie, I'm seeing these movies come out. I end up talking about, in a movie where the major discussion is whether Martin Luther King is a hoe, or where the major discussion is whether Rosa Parks just sat on the bus. That's the level of my dialogue with a movie, and that movie is Barbershop. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying where do I fit into this whole complex thing of storytelling? You know, in the sense. So at the one time that there's other actors talk about this, my discussion is whether this rapper is going to get this job or whether this movie is going to be made about some buffoonery. You understand? And that is the sense of that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with buffoonery, but buffoonery has to take place where there's a larger, more responsive collection of storytelling. It just can't be the only kind of storytelling. You understand?
We're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid, everybody.
Oh, did we? Oh. That's all. Oh, man. I'm sorry.
I'm getting dangerously good at this. I'm at the height of my powers as a coffee boy, but not as an actor.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much.
I'm already on the way to the toilet.
The reason I'm bringing this coffee is because the film crew tolerates my skinny American actor presence up in the control booth with the next to the monitor with headphones. I have the blasphemous idea of being a filmmaker myself one day. The cappuccinos are my film school tuition.
What's your name? What's your name?
I'm not worthy of a name.
Are you nameless?
I'm not worthy.
You're not
worthy of a name.
Cheers. Thank you.
Is this one? The hard stuff. Thank you.
You ready for one yet? Is that okay?
Oh, the coffee. Great, man. Fantastic.
The T-Boy right there, man. The T-Boy, Jeremy the T-Boy. Great guy.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy.
Can I give you anything?
All the way out to
Just one. We got sugar. We got everything. That's what I'm talking
Oh my
about.
god, I saw this. This is so nice. I'll have.
Did you guys meet my manager
double
from LA? Yeah, nice to meet you. How's it going?
To assisted my bribes to the camera crew for my film school tuition. What's the camera crew's favorite cookie, brother?
I'm about to get a bunch of Nike stuff.
These are really good with coffee. These are,
Yeah, it is.
This is Cato Bowl. Yeah. Oh yeah, it sounds.
Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
Thanks, man. Coffee? Jeremy cappuccinos? You know, every morning Jeremy brings coffee to the camera crew and to the rest of the crew. And I think he does it in the afternoon as well. And it's just part of the full service that Jeremy gives to the set.
Does that make any sense yet?
Starter med, at Lars har tænkt ud, hvad for nogle ting han vil se. Som er en gin machine, en skrivepult, et sofasæt, bla bla. På det niveau.
Hey, this is me. I'm Peter Hjort. I had the privilege of being the visual effects supervisor for Manderlay, and I'm here to talk a little about how we did some of the effect shots. The basic idea of using a lot of cameras to cover a space came from Dancer in the Dark, this image, where we had 100 cameras in an array for a scene with Björk. It evolved during the film Dogville. Here we see a test that we did for Dogville. And the basic idea was to cover the whole set of Manderlay with a lot of shots seen from above. It was impossible to do these shots with a single camera, so we built this rig with 13 cameras in it and moved it around 12 times. That gave a complete shot made out of 156 shots put together, and some extra green screen shots for people who moved around between the angles that the cameras covered. So everything was a little bit bigger for Manderlay. For Dogville the rig was about half the size, since for this shoot we needed to cover an area that was approximately 100 meters wide. This is the 12 cameras, and now it turns into the 156 angles, so you can see that the whole floor is covered with a bit of overlap. And we also had some cameras that was not pointed straight to do some sort of weird angles that could go into the shot. Here we see all the shots coming together for one of the scenes, scene 16, and this shot is approximately 100 meters wide. This is the first shot for the film. Lars wanted a zoom, continuous camera move from a complete shot of the United States of America, a map of that, and into a close shot of gangsters walking out of their car. So the way we shot this was to get the right lights and get some nice textures to the cars. We actually painted the whole set for Manderlay green. And we shot the cars from above with a crane that followed the cars. So this is the way Manderlay looked in its green incarnation. We had a few days at the end of the schedule where the painters did a great job of turning everything into this special green color for extracting mattes. So here's one of the angles. You can see that some of the angles are a little to the side. This is different paper textures that we did for Lars, so he could choose how he wanted the map of the US to appear. This is a final shot with the color grading and music and effects.
It was in the year of...
Now for one of my favorite shots in the film. This is a shot where Timothy comes to pick up the donkey before it gets killed in the script.
very clear shadow.
And this is one of the chances to put together a lot of skewed angles and a lot of trying to make what Lars wanted, this sort of a off feeling to the shots. They shouldn't appear like effects, but just that something was a little bit wrong with the perspective. So for this shot we combined the 156 shots of the floor and some crane shots of this beautiful donkey. It's really great to work with Lars, because even if you do something that is not perfect from an effects point of view, he will usually like some of the errors, and I really like these distortions and the grains from the DV cameras and all that, and putting it together is a joy. This was Jesper, our props master, running around to make the donkey move in circles, and we then tracked the movement from the donkey to drive the camera in the final composite.
Okay, we've cut there. We're in 2 shots. Do you know how much money that costs, Eagle? Do you know how much? See, don't walk away from me when I'm talking to you. Don't walk away when I'm talking to you. You're ruining the show. What are you doing now? You can't leave yet. You haven't done your job. Okay, we have to work together here. You want to go home? I want to go home. You help me? I'll help you.
This is all the elements coming together. I think my favorite element in this shot is the guy that appears all the way to the right of the shot in a little while.
But she needed meat and
Here he comes. He's sort of bending one way, and the perspective is distorted, and his shadowing is going in the other direction. I like that. This is the burning horse shot. Of course we couldn't set fire to a real horse, but what we did was I added all these markers to a real horse that did the shot. And after that we did a rough computer model of the horse that was moving the same way as the horse had been doing in the shot, the way Lars wanted it. And we then built a mock-up horse, just parts of it, a horse's leg and a horse's behind. And some pyrotechnicians did some nice fires for us. They set fire to these mock-up pieces of horse, and we used these points to track the fire back onto the shot. Also, we made the horse a little bit smaller in the shot, and we tracked this computer-generated floor into the shot, so it appeared like the horse was a little bit further away from the camera than it actually was. These are fire elements, the pyrotechnicians work, and this is some light passes that we made in the computer to make everything blend together. Thank you for watching this little featurette about the making of the visual effects for Manderlay. I hope you had a nice experience seeing the film and didn't think too much about how the effects was made. And I hope that the effects gave this little twist that Lars wanted to the visual side of the film.
It's springtime for Bush and America. No, that was just because I saw Mel Brooks the other day. Yeah, of course, there's a parallel to this to the Iraq War, and there's a very clear parallel because she wants to make democracy in Manderlay, and I'm sure the Americans wants to, yeah, bring their kind of democracy to the world. I was always taught by my father that mission, mission in the religious sense, that you're a missionary, that was the lowest you could get, because people should be allowed to believe in what they wanted. That was the most important thing. And if they should change, they should change. Nobody should change them. They should be kind of they should see that others, blah, 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 find out that their values were better or whatever. But mission, that means going somewhere and making people, have another religion or force it upon them. That is close to, this idea of bringing the American values to the world, which Bush talks about very openly. That is very bad morale. I think freeing a lot of people who wants to be free is beautiful, but kind of if it's to export your way of thinking because their way of thinking is not right, that is very bad, I think. Or that's what my father taught me anyway. Danny took a long time to make his mind up whether to do the film or not. We had a long talk, and then he decided to do it, which I thought was very good. And it was really difficult to find somebody who wanted to do it because, of course, this is a film where I don't think there are really any heroes in this film or any people who are only good. Which, without having seen every film in the world or every American film, then I think that we have come to a point where the best thing you could offer a black actor is a white role, right? That means a role where the color of his skin doesn't matter. And that's degrading in itself, you know. But the most parts that the black actors will get today are, heroic parts. Which must be terrible. When I was younger, the media was enough in itself, right? It was art for art's sake, right? Now it's a little different. Now you should actually be able to use the film for something. What, then you say? You say what? You have to raise some questions. But not to answer them.
Is one of my favorite filmmakers and has been for a few years. Ever since I saw Breaking the Waves, that was one of my favorite films when I first saw it. I saw it 10 times, sort of in a row, to be perfectly honest. I had a video of it, and I just kept watching it over and over again. That film sort of introduced me to sexuality. I think I was like 17 when I saw it. And so I've sort of been obsessed with his work, and when I even got to audition for it, that was a ridiculous honor because I was going to get to meet him, and so I thought that was enough, and that they were going to send me a copy of Dogville, and I was going to get to see it before anyone else, and that was kind of crazy. And so then on top of all of that I was going to get to work with him sort of seemed unrealistic, and I was like, well, that's, something is going to happen. I'm going to die or something like that. So it's so that I can't make it on set or something ridiculous like that, because it really didn't seem possible. But I did. There were a couple of days where it was really, really difficult. But Lars would say beforehand, he would say, I'm going to take you to a place that's really dark and scary, and I want you to know that I'm going to be there to pick you up afterwards. He would say that to me, and he would absolutely do it, and I would go there, and then he would just slowly build me up again afterwards.
Visita mi canal.
And so it was okay, Yeah, it's hard. I don't have nightmares or anything, but there were a few days that were really difficult because Grace goes through a tremendous amount of pain in this film, and it is kind of hard to leave it, but it's also satisfying the thing that's hardest to leave is if you feel like you haven't done the scene well, or if you haven't fully realized a moment. if you have, it's painful in the moment, but then afterwards, as an actor, you could sort of step aside and say, okay, well, that's done with, and I'm really glad that it was done properly, you know. Bush fancies himself sort of ordained by God, and it's this thing, this quality that Grace has as well, you know, thinking that you know what's right, and so you know, have this very sort of narrow field of vision, and you're very kind of myopic, and you do something that may seem wrong, but you think it's right, and you'll do it at all costs, and it's one of the scary things about power, that when someone has power, they kind of lose perspective on things. I wasn't nervous at all, because I looked at it as a completely different kind of role, and I didn't study her performance necessarily. I didn't try to mimic anything that she did. The movie Dogville is incredibly valuable because it's what happened to Grace before she came to Manderlay. But I wasn't trying to emulate Nicole in any way at all. Although there was a tremendous responsibility, because she did do an incredible job in that film, and I just didn't want to drop the ball, you know, for Nicole's sake, and also I didn't want to drop the ball for Lars's sake, because he had written this incredible script that I was honored to be a part of, and then to sort of mess things up would be putting myself in actor hell, you know. So I just came in here just, you know, having read Manderlay about 200 times and watched Dogville about 8 times, and then just doing my best from there, you know.
Well, first of all, that came in 2 parts. I knew of Lars Van Trier through Breaking Waves, which I had seen, but I had not seen Dance in the Dark. So the first part of this was knowing who he was as a director. The second part of this, and I should say maybe it's 3 parts to this, was that before I read the script, I stayed up one night and watched Dogville. So I was really taken by Dogville and moved by Dogville in a great deal. For someone who has lived historically and through myself and through my descendants with American hypocrisy, it was interesting how he was able to kind of shape the story around the very thing that we come to know is a part of our lives.
I always wanted to work with Lars. I remember I saw Isaac de Bancolay the night before he left. I know Isaac a little bit, and I went to a play he was in New York, and afterwards we went out and had dinner. And he said, somewhat proudly, he said, "Hey, I'm going to, go to Sweden to work on Lars von Trier movie." I said, "That's cool." He said, "It's a good part too." I said, "That's great, that's great." And I joked with him. I said, "When you get over there, tell Lars if he needs me, just call me up. I'll come right over." And then about six weeks later, whatever, I just got a call, very direct, saying, "Look, they'd like to have you do this, little part in Manderlay. Read it and tell me what you think." So it was kind of a no-brainer. As I said, I wanted to work with Lars, and the material, as much as I ever understand the material initially, was attractive to me. Well, I think it's pretty obvious that he's, on one hand, he's kind of the, politically incorrect voice, but on the other hand, he's the voice of wisdom. He's kind of a combination of those two things. I mean, if Grace is naive, idealistic, and arrogant, he's not naive, pessimistic, and realistic.
The whipping action will definitely be stretched a bit.
It will be stretched a bit, yeah. But you don't start until you have the light there, and that means that they are, there's a long time. They don't have to do anything. It's when they get here the light goes on.
Okay.
And then the whipping will go from that second till it goes over here. Have this ride, very short ride.
Okay, folks, as soon as we get on check,
so it won't be so much longer.
Stand by.
Do you want me to start from me standing there grabbing the whip and starting the
No.
Or
You're
starting with the whip?
you're whipping already. So as soon as the light comes on, stuff like that. Yeah, to this guy, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah.
It could either mean she's good, but it could also mean she's a hot lady.
Okay.
Stuff like that would be fine.
Okay.
Bring a little human. We need to do this angle one more time, and then we'll over from the other side.
Yep.
Yes.
So resetting from the top, please.
Så är vi klara. Zijn we klaar?
So I got the wrong glasses. So maybe you would get.
Yes.
Yes, very good.
Brilletje.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Colin. 181, take 4.
In situations like that, you father always came up with something.
But it's patience, that's what matters most. And you show great patience with people. Can I do this first?
Not this much patience, Neil says. Neil's grandpa was a cotton grower. And he says the cotton should have been sown ages ago.
I thought soil doesn't look ready. Well, maybe things are different from where your grandpa lived.
Like what? I mean, there's something we have to be thankful for?
Not at all.
Honestly. But you did.
I am certain that on this day, my fellow Americans expect that on my induction into the presidency, I will address them with a candor and a decision to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly.
Der er ting ved Amerika, som jeg synes er fantastiske. Og der er ting i den måde, som Amerika nu i øjeblikket fungerer politisk på, som jeg ikke kan fordrage.
Right, shooting and turn over.
181, take 4.
And action.
Hvis man har et følsomt sind, så kan man jo bruge den følsomhed enten til at fare rundt og lave en film, eller også til at gøre livet ubehageligt for sig selv. Ikke?
Visita mi canal.
Over de næste 8 uger skal filminstruktør Lars von Trier lave opfølgeren til sin kontroversielle film Dogville. Projektet hedder Manderlay og er anden del af Triers trilogi om mulighedernes land. Trilogiens første del handlede om pigen Grace, der søger tilflugt i den lille by Dogville. Som tiden går, afpresser og misbruger byens indbyggere Grace, indtil hun undsættes af sin magtfulde far, der brænder byen ned og myrder dens indbyggere.
Nu vi bevæger os ned til Alabama, og der laver de en lille frokostpause, Grace og hendes far, og så viser det sig, at de har parkeret uden for et gods, hvor der stadig er slaveri. Her i 1933, tror jeg det er, vi siger. Så får Grace jo pludselig en mulighed for at bruge sin nyvundne styrke, nemlig gangsterstyrken, som faren har lovet hende.
Untie him.
Stop! Yeah, we keep on rolling, and Danny and Bryce, if we take it back just to the well, please. I just need to make it closer.
Well, Lars is one of my favorite filmmakers and has been for a few years. Ever since I saw Breaking the Waves, that was one of my favorite films. That film sort of introduced me to sexuality. I think I was like 17 when I saw it. The scarf is like not happening right now. So I was thinking a little bit about some of the questions that you asked me, and I realized I've kind of been in this bubble for a while where all I've really thought about is Grace and what Grace thinks and what Grace wants and how Grace feels about the situation. And I haven't really zoomed out yet and looked at the situation as a movie, that we're actually making a movie and that people are going to actually see it and it's going to mean something pretty serious to them.
Did anybody advise you not to do this?
Yeah. But that's because everyone wants to play it so safe, you know? And they just wanted to protect me and... But they... You know, as soon as they saw that I was completely determined to be a part of it, it wasn't... They were like, well, okay. You know? Are they ready?
Yeah, we're ready for you.
Karakteren stammer i virkeligheden fra Marquis de Sade, som jeg lige har genoptaget bekendtskabet med. Og minder meget om karakteren, der hed Justine, som var sådan en hjertensgod kvinde, som det for det meste gik skævt for. Og det kan man også sige om mange af mine kvindelige hovedpersoner. Men, den der passive facon, som hun forsøgte på i hvert fald i første omgang i Dogville, den ønsker hun ikke at gentage, så nu prøver hun så i stedet for med noget våbenmagt.
There's no reason to be grateful for anything as natural as your freedom. I'm the first to apologize for everything you and your people have been subjected to. See, those gates should have been unlocked 70 years ago.
Only 70 years ago. But before that, of course, they were completely justified.
Raceproblemet har jo haft en stor betydning i Amerikas historie, ikke? har det jo stadigvæk. Ikke? Så det var jo et oplagt emne at tage op i en trilogi, der hedder USA.
Jeg forventer ikke, at det nødvendigvis bliver let i morgen. Det er en hvid mands historie, det her. En hvid mand, der kommer ind og ser de forhold og hans fortolkning osv. Der er så meget smerte i mit show, men det kræver lidt workshop og forklaring. Ikke? Men det er meget vigtigt, at skuespillerne virkelig bliver overbevist om det. Ikke? Fordi så vil de bedre kunne se det menneske, som Lars prøver at skildre i sin film, ikke?
Jeg så de amerikanske billeder her for relativt nylig, jeg tror for et par år siden eller et år siden, for første gang. Det har påvirket mig en del i skrivearbejdet, ja.
I need to make a little introduction here. First of all, there is on the sheet that is handed out some introduction, but let me say I'm from Denmark. I came to the United States and immediately fell in love with the country. One of the first things that happened was I was held up at gunpoint. That was a terrible, shaking experience, and well, I got curious to see where all this anger, all this pain was coming from behind the barrel of the gun. And that set me on a long journey into the back alleys of America, a journey which is not finished yet.
Well, we had all kinds of different reactions to it. I was purely selfish. As an actor, I wanted to hear them speak. I wanted to find out about eating dirt, which I had to do. I didn't go into much of the politics of it.
Jeg var meget overrasket over reaktionen, fordi den delte jo salen, altså det var hele holdet, og så alle spillerne, der var med, og den delte jo salen fuldstændig over, ligesom i et raseskæld, hvor skal man sige, de hvide var jo meget betaget af Jacobs fremstilling, og brødebetynget naturligvis, fordi de ligesom har været den aggressive part, kan man sige, i et historisk perspektiv. Hvorimod den farvede del af tilskuerne var meget provokeret.
De eksploderede i en eller anden form for vrede, eller der skulle i hvert fald nogle følelser ud.
This is what it is, and this is what you feel, and it's because of this. This is what you are. So it was like putting me here and saying, that's what you are.
Tus trailers. Visita mi canal.
I don't think that's really... I think that's dehumanizing.
It's dangerous when your personal experience, you want to generalize it. No, it's just still personal experience. And you got to live it in that context.
People understood something else after coming out of that session. Because they also understood the kind of very dangerous territory that they're now beginning to embark on.
I look in the morning. I always look like a frog. I have no lips.
Yes. I'll be easier on you than the boys were this morning.
Wow. Oh, such an easy girl.
Because of the haircut.
Yeah, but I think I have to cut a little bit on the back because when I saw this thing, because I didn't took it here, so I just trim it.
Yeah, let's do it. If it should have been sewn, surely the people here would have been the first to know it. I thought the hardest depended on putting this in this roller just right now. Hardest depended on this in this roller just right now.
Få lov at være lidt med, ikke?
It's a scientific
Let's
work
go.
here. Don't interfere. Don't interfere. This is
Come on,
not
do
your
it again,
area of
Lars.
expertise.
I need a break.
this here? Oh, it's hair.
Oh, shit.
Bryce has got hair on her ass. I've only come across
Excuse
this.
me, it's my job. It's my job. It's my job.
Excuse me?
It's my job. No, it's my job. It's not my job.
Ad, did you find a way around?
I hope so. We're going to check this.
He's like a scientist, isn't he? Kind of crazed scientist.
I already feel so much more harmonic since you fixed my sound system. Thanks, sir.
Jeg er ikke... Jeg synes selvfølgelig, at det er stressende at filme, og det er da pisse ubehageligt. Optagelser er altid rædselsfulde. Jeg får problemer med de der lamper, ikke? Helvede til. Næsten er høj.
Jeg kan ikke rigtig trække det, hvis jeg lægger ned. Nu må jeg se det igen.
Mike?
Yeah.
On action, brace start in this direction, right?
Yeah.
Rather close to me. We have to move the whole thing further back.
530, 532.
Hello, Tony?
Yeah. I've got my walkie back. Now, hang on 1 second. I think we're good.
Hang on, no, please.
Hang on 1 little second, please. This is part 2, supposedly, of a trilogy. So it's based, technically speaking, on the way we did the first one. As far as Lars kind of requires quite a lot of freedom for camera movement. And he likes to operate quite a lot of himself. And, you know, we chase around with our lights trying to keep up and trying to contain some kind of standards and freedom for him at the same time.
How much more can you take this down?
Hang on a second. Mikey, wait.
Kan 500...
If anybody can hear me, I'm just quietly asking you to wait just a little bit. You okay? We good?
Shooting now! Red light and bell! And action!
It's very different from traditional filmmaking. Very different. There's no rehearsal whatsoever, and you're not allowed to ask any questions because he wants to see what you're going to bring and what he can work with. Sort of our joke is my first take is always kind of the worst possible thing anyone could ever do.
How's everyone doing?
I'm afraid the men got nothing to do. And it's not so good for their morale. In situations like that, your father always came up with something.
I bet he did. But it's patience that's required here. We must... But it's patience.
We must...
That's required.
You can make the worst mistakes ever, and he would congratulate you for them. You know, he wants you to fall so you can stand up again, because then you won't be embarrassed to fall, you know?
It's a very shrewd way of taking control from the actors, because you're basically giving them full run of things for the very first take, and of course without anything to frame them or without anything to come up against. They usually, you know, it's like a director's version of the boxing rope-a-dope strategy. The actors go out there and they punch themselves out immediately. So from then on, they're very receptive to a director kind of structuring things because they've had carte blanche to do it any way they want. So come around the fifth take, you aren't very sympathetic to an actor saying, you know, what I really want to try. It was like, hey baby, you had your chance, we're on to something else.
Første optagelse, der lader vi spillerne spille på deres egen måde og tage det med, som de mener, der ligger i rollen. Men det er jo meget ofte, at vi bruger noget fra den optagelse. Jeg vil sige, at det materiale, vi for det meste bruger, det er fra den første og den sidste, og det sidste take. Det er normalt. Det, som er anderledes, er, at jeg står bag kamera, og derfor er jeg i ret tæt kontakt med spillerne og kan snakke til dem undervejs.
In situations like that, your father always came up with something.
That was very good coming in. Why the fuck don't you look at him when he says something about
What do you want?
Either you say, how's everyone doing, like you don't want an answer, or you say if you want an answer from him.
Which one do you want?
I don't care either of them, but right now it's in between.
Okay.
Mange ting bliver jo så overforklaret, det vil sige overspillet, ikke? Og det bryder jeg mig ikke rigtig om. Fordelen ved overspil er, at det er svært at snyde, når du overspiller. Du skal forstå rollen, og derfor er det også fint at have overspil med. Jeg bruger det også som en teknik, men det er mere for at tjekke, at man er enige om, hvad den her scene går ud på. Hvis den er overspillet, så kan man aflæse det, og så kan man så ligesom tage den ned i spil, ikke?
Action!
I'm afraid the men got nothing to do. And it's not so good for the morale. In situations like that, your father always came up with something.
I bet he did. But it's patience that's required here. We must show great patience with people, like with crops.
Not this much patience, Neil
Y tus
says.
trailers.
Neil's
Visita mi
grandpa
canal.
was a cotton grower, and he says the cotton should have been sown ages ago.
Thank you, cut. Beautiful.
We've cut that. So that was obviously
You're just in front of the microphone, so the microphone, it takes this sound, it doesn't hear you anymore.
We need stunt coins.
Actually, we should.
I can't see that you throw points. Just put some points there, and before it goes on and after, you can throw real points. Otherwise, you just pretend to throw points.
But don't throw them.
Don't throw them when the sound is on.
Stand by to shoot.
Hesten gik meget godt, og lavede det igen, men det gik meget godt.
Ja, den skal komme senere.
Ja.
Kommer senere.
Men,
Og hvis vi ikke får den i galop, så vil jeg altså bare den til at gå skridtgang. Det der hopper ikke igennem. Lad os prøve det igen. Vi ser bare, på det tidspunkt, når man red, vil man så ride letridning? Det gør man slet
ikke. Der er der nedsiden, ikke?
Ja, okay.
Der er du ikke let.
Nej, det gjorde det ikke i westerns. Nej.
Han har ændret sig meget over de 24 år, jeg har kendt ham. I begyndelsen, altså da vi lavede The Element of Crime, der var han jo en vred ung mand, altså rasende på alt og alle og havde skuespillere. Det var simpelthen, altså det var en nødvendig onde, at der skulle være en skuespiller i en film. Han ville simpelthen ikke have noget med dem at gøre. Han talte stort set ikke med den. Altså teknikken, som var den vigtige, ikke? Det var først rigtigt i Breaking the Waves, at han tog fat i spillerne og ligesom arbejdede med dem og tog den til sig, ikke?
To me, he got the right words for an actor. When he said, "Don't act, you forget I'm here filming. You know, do what you would have done without a camera. You know, so something you would have done in a basic life."
Run along home and tell them that this time the Negroes we saved really were riches.
Isaac, sorry, can you just sit down, put on your hat again?
Okay.
So you just sit down and put on your hat and start from there. Thank you. See, yeah. But do you think you can put it on when you just sat down? Because then yeah, if that's okay. And action.
There's no really one way to do it. There's a true way to do it, a natural way to do it.
When you're out here, the car will be, let's say, 10, it will be over the corner, right? So you can hear that it starts here, and you can hear when it stops, and then you have to try.
Fellas, we're ready to go, thanks. So let's get into the car. We need to move this car back 2 lengths, please. Anthony, do you want to see the lights on? See, he's got a different version. He's got.
Oh yeah, it's exciting.
Right,
Yeah,
Anthony.
that's nice.
And the guys in the background, if you stand still, I might use it. Thank you.
I think there's a little anarchy in his soul, and you get the sense that he doesn't even want you as an actor to make the scene. I mean, accomplish the scene, like make the scene work well. He's really watching, you know, the struggle you have with the scene and those moments between where the scene is working well. It seems like those are the moments he enjoys when the actor's a little out of control or a little off balance. That's where the most truthful and most interesting behavior comes in.
Now go all the way. You're stopping yourself all the time. Don't do that. For once, not loud.
You would just say, don't act, just, you know, be there and react as a human being to what's going on, you know. And that's kind of scary because then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself, and that's terrifying. But it's much more effective, you know.
Just stay here. Stay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Stay. Okay. Go into it. Stay there still. Go into it. Don't resist it. More. You go more into it. Okay, go to him now. Nogle gange bliver det spillet så det bliver fremstillet i stedet for at føle det, ikke? Og spille og føle kan godt være det samme, mener jeg, ikke? Men fremstillet bryder mig ikke så meget om.
Lars har valgt nogle steder i filmen, hvor han synes, det var godt at komme op og se det hele. Så det første, vi starter med startscenen. Der laver vi et kort over hele USA. Så der laver vi en effekt. Og så scene 16, der ser vi hele Manderlay for første gang. 17 DV-kameraer, som sidder sådan, at vi ved at flytte den her rig 12 gange rundt i lokalet, så dækker vi hele gulvet. Så det giver 156 billeder, der kigger lige ned. Og alt det lægger vi så sammen i computeren. Og så har vi et billede af hele Manderlay.
We need about 20 seconds of people taking their eye line to the camera.
Which camera?
Which one? Any of this room. Any of this 14. There's about 18 of it. But once we've rolled for about 20 seconds, you can count that in yourselves. You can then, some of you can afford to look down and chat amongst yourselves. And action.
Jeg kan meget godt lide fornemmelsen oppefra af at se det her hele situationen som et skema, ikke? At vi har ligesom afgrænset vores spilleflade. Det bliver lidt et computerspil eller et brætspil, om du vil, ikke? Den forbindelse kan jeg meget godt lide. Jeg har svært ved at begrunde det anderledes end at det er sådan en abstraktion, som jeg synes passer godt til historien.
Cut there. So if we're happy with that, Peter?
Yes. This is the first temporary composite of scene 57 with the birds. So this is all the 12 positions put together. So this is the first look, and it's about 15 seconds after the shot we have the first temporary composite to look at. Det går rigtig godt. Lige herinde bagved, der er den største green screen i dansk filmhistorie. Malet på gulvet. Den er 76 meter gange 30 meter. Roughly 140 cans of paint went into the floor in here.
Jeg tror, man kan finde på mange mere spændende måder at bruge computer på. Jeg synes bare ikke, den måde, den bliver brugt på normalt er særlig interessant, fordi den bliver brugt på ligesom at lave monstre og ting og sager, som i virkeligheden tror jeg, at monstre laver man allerbedst op i hovedet, fordi det uanset hvor mange tunger og halse og klør og hvad ved jeg, hvor mange tons de vejer, når de kommer ud af computeren, så er det alligevel mere uhyggeligt, hvis du laver dem op i hovedet.
Man skal ikke prøve at tilbyde ham et eller andet, som man har set lige for nylig i 3 amerikanske film og nogle af de sidste nye reklamefilm og sådan noget. Det er ikke ligesom, det er ikke den måde, det kører på. Det er noget med, at historien og filmen stiller nogle krav, og så skal man prøve at finde en løsning til det.
Alright, shooting. And turnover.
Der er altså mange muligheder for at bruge det her men som ikke er så sensationelle, som når man laver Ringenes Herre. Ikke? Jeg forestiller mig mere, at vi kan arbejde med nogle små nuancer, som man inden for malerkunsten jo har gjort meget.
Ja, we have it.
Man kunne forestille sig en naturalisme, som bare var drejet en lille smule, hvor man bare har lavet den lille forvridning af virkeligheden, som du i virkeligheden måske slet ikke lægger mærke til, og kun påvirker dig en underbevidst, eller hvad fanden ved jeg, hvor du så kunne nå hen nogle følelsesmæssige eller stemningsmæssige steder, som var endnu helt uudforsket. Ikke? I alle de her billeder opfra har vi jo lavet en forvridning, som er svær at se, men som hvis du kigger på billederne, kan du se, at de er helt forvredet perspektivisk, og det er med vilje, ikke?
I almost beat you to it.
Yeah, I think you did actually.
We won't discuss it.
When you walk into a set like this where there are no walls and no doors and it's just sort of a big black room and you just look at your fellow actors and your director and you say, okay, this is it. We're gonna have to carry this.
Spare me your hypocrisy. You double slave. Get out. Leave us alone.
It takes a minute to get used to it. Because you make a left turn, you go, well, I think I'll go over here. Wait a minute, hold it. You know, it's a door, or it's a mirror, it's a wall. So you do have to rethink things a lot. You have to use your imagination, which I think is good.
I should take a knife. Is there a knife somewhere? Or do I have to mime the knife? Oh, okay. I haven't done much action in this film, to be honest. I was a kind of watchman, and I think it's time to do some action, and I think I'm going to kill the chickens, because I'm going to kill the chickens. One chicken left.
Okay, good. And number one. And two. Det, som er fidusen, synes jeg, ved denne her form med kridtstregerne på gulvet, det er jo, at man spiller med et publikum, eller spiller med et publikums hjerne og ligesom deres kreativitet spiller med. Ikke? Den leg, der ligger i det, tror jeg er meget vigtig for mediet. Ja, når man legede, at her lå et hus, og man havde det bare en svag hule, og så legede man det ene og det andet, og så kunne man jo så lege sig så meget ind i det, så det blev så følelserne og oplevelserne omkring det blev måske endnu stærkere, end hvis det havde været rigtigt. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. It's almost there. The water is almost there. The water is not there yet. It is there now.
Even though you're not a part of the ongoing scene, that you are in the background, it was tiring. At times, you couldn't wait to get off of that stage and finish with it. All those happen.
It's a test of humility, you know. It's very humbling, which is good, to be a background actress after being nominated for an Academy Award, you know. My agents didn't want me to do it. They said, you can't go, you have 3 lines, you know, come on. And I said, oh, but, you know, I love Lars, and I think he's a great filmmaker, so I said I'd just like to be around, you know. Plus, I had a good time on Dogville, so I figured it wouldn't be so bad. But it has been rougher than I expected it to be.
Welcome to our lesson. Yes, I call it a lesson, as the term meeting seems to have scared some people out of attending.
I was coming, but I was late.
Very late. You hadn't made it by the time we finished.
The thing about Lars is he's not the only one, but he's a very good example of a director who is interested in demanding a great deal of his recruits, his troops, and pushing film language.
Kitus trailers.
Always.
Visita
Can't find
mi
a film he
canal.
hasn't done that.
Jeg betragter mig selv som en pioner, som det hed i det gamle Sovjetunionen. Ikke? Med at vi er ude og hugge stammer ned, så vi ligesom kan lave nyt landbrugsland. Selvfølgelig føler jeg mig som en brik i sådan et udviklingspuslespil. Ja, for ellers så virker det som livet formålsløst, ikke? Hvis jeg var alene i verden, så ville det være et andet spørgsmål, ikke? Altså hvis jeg vidste, at der aldrig var nogen, der ville se filmene, eller hverken filmmager eller filmbrugere, så ville det nok være et andet spørgsmål, ikke? Alt sådan skabende arbejde er jo... Selvfølgelig er der nogen, der har ligesom lavet den første urokse i en eller anden grotte, men alting er jo baseret på noget, du har set før i alle mulige andre medier også, men også filmmediet. Og i virkeligheden er, skal man sige, uanset hvor rebelsk du opfører dig inden for filmmediet i dag, så er det jo stadigvæk 99,9999% reproduktion af ting, der er lavet før, ikke? Det er bare så på en lille smule anderledes. Det er jo det, der personligt gør det. Altså jeg synes, ren reproduktion synes jeg ikke er interessant. Fordi jeg selvfølgelig bilder mig ind, at jeg har en personlig smag og en personlig målsætning, som der ikke er nogen film, der lever op til, som eksisterer. Ellers kunne jeg jo bare så reproducere denne film. Eller lade være, ikke?
Good. All right. The part I play is someone who, the character's name is Willem. Willem has witnessed or seen what African Americans used to refer to with the emancipation, the coming of the Lord. You're dealing with a subject that my country has dealt with for the entirety of its history. Slaves came immediately after the Jamestown settlement in 1607. And you're dealing with a lot of skeletons, a lot of ghosts, a lot of guilt, a lot of anger, a lot of pain, all those.
I mean, it's a complicated thing. I mean, look how long it took to free the slaves. I mean, Lincoln spent before Lincoln came along, boy, there was no chance. It took a long time.
Democracy means...
You know, I don't think the film ultimately is about a statement about slavery, and therefore it's, you know, making some kind of dogmatic or academic point. But it is about human nature and about human behavior. And that, to me, is fascinating.
But it's because you keep on rolling. It's because you do this kind of double thing that you want.
It was really difficult. I felt really sick the entire time. There were 3 boys there watching it, and that was always sort of in my mind.
This should be the shoulders, right, of the male.
But it's up here.
Yeah, try to do it on this without. Just talking about that, you know, you look at the shoulders and then you try.
I felt a lot of humiliation and a lot of embarrassment, because it's one thing for me to do it and it's a movie and we're creating it and it's pretend, and it's another thing to do it and know that this happened and you're doing it in front of a group of people where this is basically in their recent history.
Yeah, much better.
But I don't want to use the real whip when I'm doing it.
We don't want to go that close so it really touches, but we just want kind of the full action so it just doesn't touch. Okay, and you're sure about this?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I would give her a safety mark. Wouldn't that be the best? Yeah. Build up to a scream and then do it.
I'm sort of done with all of my acting, you know, and so now it's just basically technical stuff. So it's a nice way to sort of calm down. If I had to leave right after I finished the last scene, it would have been impossible. And so it's nice because now I get to sort of relax and not worry and not stress and just sort of be with these people that I love. And then at the end of the week, hopefully, I'll be a little bit better.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long road to Manderlay, but for some of you, namely Nina, Luella, Alameu, Donna, Emmanuel, Ginny, Suzette, Joseph, Clive, young Jacob, and Danny. That is a wrap. Thank you.
Det er vanskeligt at se sig belært af nogen helt fuldstændig udefra, som jeg jo er, der kommer med den her film. Ikke? Lige så negativt, som vi automatisk vil stille os, hvis der kom en eller anden amerikaner og sagde, hvordan vi skulle leve vores liv her i landet, hvad de jo ikke gør. Men det er man jo også negativ overfor.